Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of Chelsea Transfer Talk. And as you can see on the title today, I don't know why it was like, let me go with insane transfer news today. Is it insane? Nothing Chelsea do at the moment is, in a positive sense, insane. But a lot of things are in a negative sense insane. Now, let me not already be negative already, but there are a few crazy things happening that kind of came out of nowhere to, I think, most people today, which is surprising and interesting. But yeah, we will discuss all of those. We will discuss first impressions, first insights, first hints, tactically and otherwise, from Maresca's training session. Of course, Chelsea flying out to the US for pre-season tour on Monday. So we're getting closer. We're getting closer to the spiciness returning. Obviously, the Euros was fantastic. I know, sorry, English fans. Unfortunately, the final didn't go your way, but I think in general, most of us had quite a lot of fun during the Euros. I know England didn't play so well, but let's ignore that. Let's ignore that. We're back to talking about Chelsea, back as if it was ever gone. But I'm trying to build the excitement again. I'm trying to feel it. I'm trying to get back into it. And on that note, I'll bring Pais in, because who gets us more excited by sharing all the Chelsea news than Pais does? So Pais, first of all, thank you for being back on. We hope you enjoyed your holiday. Obviously, you've been back streaming on Playback already, but we hope you enjoyed your holiday. Glad to have you back. How are you feeling about Chelsea? Obviously, also from your perspective, the Euros are over. Now kind of full focus back on Chelsea. Where do you stand on it? I was tweeting today that I'm like, is anybody else kind of like underwhelmed and a bit, I don't know, like what's happening? What are we doing in the transfer market? Because throughout April and May, whether it was Fabrizio, whether it was Matt Law, they were all saying, yeah, we're going to sign this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. They were like, Fabrizio was like, we're going to be super active. And I'm like, super active, I didn't think would mean Renato Veiga. Like, no problem with Renato Veiga, but I didn't think that was what was being hinted at, really. So what do you reckon, Pais? First of all, are you underwhelmed? And also, is Maresca, on the other hand, getting you a bit more excited?
Yeah, good to be back. I've said loads. I've been underwhelmed this window. You know, it doesn't take much to get me to underwhelmed, to be fair. I do think some of our signings will end up being quite good. I do think Tosin will be quite good. I think Dewsbury Hall will exceed fan expectations, at least, which I think are pretty low. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's we've not signed anyone exciting. I think is the problem. You know, we're not signing a Nico Williams. We're not signing an Osimhen. We're not signing, I don't know, you know, even like a Calafiori or Hincapié. We signed Veiga instead. So it's like, it's one of those windows where we're being opportunistic and we're trying to find good, cheaper deals, I think, that fit our squad and fit the style of Maresca, who, you know, by the looks of things, without watching any games yet, does seem like an improvement on the training pitch at least. I mean, he's very active. He's very hands-on. He's clearly, you know, demanding authority straight away, which is good. You know, he's giving me early sort of Tuchel day vibes. Same with Conte. You know, that kind of like approach to training with what we're seeing seems, you know, really hands-on and sort of, you know, hopefully we will see his style of play implemented very quickly, or at least the foundations of it. I'm excited for the preseason games coming up. I'm just sort of, you know, hoping that news is going to keep me busy until then, but it seems like it's really quiet. So, you know, Chelsea have got so many outgoings to do as well, which I think is really concerning. The fact that we've got such a big squad, and I did like a tier list on my stream last night on Playback, and you know, me and my viewers sort of concluded that we had about 15 players that still needed to be loaned or sold. So there's a lot of players that, in our view, when you look through the squad, you know, like we went deep into it, like. You mean like your Bashir Humphreys and stuff like that, like loans and sales, and there's so much to do, and it just feels like there's such little movement. So I'm just kind of wondering when it's all going to erupt. Really, you know, it's sort of like just going at a snail's pace. Really, like there's nothing really new each day. It's kind of just, you know, it's
well,
there
was
boring.
today. There was today, to be fair.
Yeah, but even then on the goalies though, it's like. We're not signed anyone. It's like, oh, you know, we're going to look at a goalie now. Okay, well, we've been looking at a striker and winger for like the last 3 weeks and we've done nothing. So, you know, it's just
true. And that's kind of the sign for how slow and kind of underwhelming it has been, that I say, oh, today something has happened. Like you said, all we got was, we are looking at a goalkeeper and Petrovic might be sold, loaned, or whatever the flip. So like that's all it really was. So you're not wrong. I mean, obviously I haven't done that same tier list. So I'm not quite sure if I get to 15 or 18 or whatever you had, but there's certainly plenty of outgoings that still need to happen. And that's one of the other things that I find a bit strange. Like, it seems for the third season running now, the ownership and directorship seem a bit surprised by struggling to sell players, which I'm like, and I'm not even, this is not their fault as such, because the old ownership had the very same problem. What I'm trying to get at is, this is just the problem in football, especially when you're an English team that pays players fairly high wages, that pays fairly high fees for them because we can't afford it. That's why other clubs charge us that. But then when you try to get rid of them again, and they're maybe not to the level that you're ending up, selling them to Real Madrid, Barcelona, bloody, I don't know, PSG, or within the Premier League. If you're trying to sell kind of to lesser clubs, well, then you usually very much so struggle to like get the money that you want, get the money that you calculated for. And like you said, like how many players, like we're not going to get to all 15 off the top of our heads now, but like you start with Broja, you've got like, I can't even think of them on the top of my head now, but like obviously Chilwell potentially, who should go, will go, could go. God knows what's going to happen with that. Obviously, the whole Conor Gallagher situation after having signed Dewsbury Hall, will he stay? Will he go? Obviously, we had that super weird rumor about Andreas Pereira out of nowhere, and I was like, this is the worst rumor I have ever heard. I don't care if Revelo, I always say the wrong way, from Brazil are usually reliable. I don't know about you, Pies, but when I read that rumor, I was like, well, this is horseshit. It has to be. And I genuinely was thinking to myself, if we sign Andreas Pereira, I might never make a YouTube video again because I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. Fuck off. Not Andreas Pereira. Thankfully, that has since been disproven. That's not happening. Thank God. But yeah, like countless and countless of outgoings. Do you at all have a feeling that part of the reason why not more transfer activity in terms of incomings has happened is because we haven't had outgoings yet? But remember all of May and April, they were telling us, yeah, we need to sell by June 30th, and then we will be spending in July. Well, we kind of spent more in June than we did in July. So I don't really know what's happening. But do you think at all that once more sales happen, more signings will happen as well? Or do you not really see them connected to each other as much as usual?
I think they are connected. I think they have to be connected in some senses. Like, we haven't got the most amount of money to spend seemingly, but if we do sell the likes of Gallagher, Chalobah, Broja, one of the left backs probably has to go. Hopefully it's not Cucurella, but there's so many players like that we can sell. Lukaku, Kepa, if we generate a lot of money or accumulate money from these guys, then yeah, we will have a lot of money to spend if they want to do that. If not, they can save that money or use it to pay off previous debt. I don't know what's happening inside the club with the financials, but you'd imagine that they'd look to put some sort of money towards a bigger signing, but we're still looking for 3 positions as well apparently. So winger, striker, and now goalkeeper. So yeah, you'd hope that the sales would help the funds, but there is no sales. Like there's no sales to be seen anywhere right now. So not really sure what's happening, but I know, for example, like with Chalobah and Gallagher, they're being very picky over where they want to go, and they don't want to go. So they're being very picky, likes of Forest, Everton, and these sort of clubs have come forward for Chalobah, but he's like, no, like, I'm not going there. Like, don't, that sort of thing. So it's hard to
it's also like,
some players.
To jump in on that, but if we're going to play this whole essentially having 3 centre-backs in possession, we currently have 6 centre-backs. Like, I don't think we're in a position where we desperately need to sell any of them. Like, obviously, homegrown and, pure profit and stuff through Chalobah, I get that. But, I feel like maybe we would actually be better off not selling any of them other than Chilwell. But, who knows? Like you just said then, it's, how it's like we're not really, and you've used that word a few times, and I like how you use it. It's like we've not really signed needle movers as such yet. Now, obviously, and I've started to call them clearly sexuals, really, even though it's kind of just countering the call them sexuals. But hey, it works. There's obviously a lot of them that say, well, yeah, we've got Nkunku come in, and we've got Lavia, and essentially Reece James. Let's wait and see if he's actually going to be fit and available this season. And all these players that have been injured so much, Wesley Fofana, that will be almost like new signings. And therefore, we don't actually need many new signings. And Pies, to be fair, like I remember speaking to you a few weeks ago that you think, or said at the time already, you think our squad is good enough to get top 4. Now, if you do think that, then I'm like, I get, because we can't even sign enough good players that we're immediately going to challenge Arsenal or City, especially with a championship manager, right? Like, no matter who we sign, that's not going to happen. So if you think that the squad is good enough for top 4, do you still firmly believe that we need such drastic needle movers? Like you were telling me beforehand that it seems like, or it looks like, maybe Nkunku will play up front. But that makes me think, okay, well, but then we don't need a big name striker, though, do we? Like, what's the point in signing Osimhen if the plan is to play Nkunku up front? Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, left winger, I guess, but like, do you know what I mean? Unless Sterling goes, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, what are you going to do with a left winger? Like, for me, and I said this to you in a voice note before a while before we went live today. For me, my main issue in my head about what I'm envisioning for the team this coming season is Palmer playing right wing, even though Maresca wants touchline wingers. So I'm like, okay, but then I'd much rather have Palmer as an 8. But then Madueke is the only touchline right winger in our squad. So didn't we need Olise and a play on that side way more than a play on the other side? Obviously, we've got Esteban Kendry coming in next year, so it's kind of like a stopgap situation. But still, it's just like, how badly do you feel that we need needle movers, bro? And in which positions do you feel those are required the most? Is it just striker / left wing, maybe both, and goalkeeper? Or is there anywhere else where, in an ideal world, you would still love like a big side?
Well, I think I've always said striker. I do feel like we should be in the Osimhen race. I'm surprised no one's gone for Gyökeres yet either. I do also think that the goalkeeper, if we, like, you know, we'll come on to the goalkeeper, but if Petrovic does go, then, you know, I don't really see the point in signing a goalkeeper that is going to be someone to push Sanchez, because at the end of the day, we're going to spend probably similar amount as what we did on Petrovic, maybe 20, 25 mil, you know, maybe a little bit more. And it's like, why bother doing that? Like, just keep Petrovic, especially because in the Matt Law report, he was literally saying, well, you know, Chelsea don't deny his talent. And then in the same report, he's saying that Chelsea feel like there's too big of a gap between Petrovic and Sanchez. So, which one is it? You know, if you want a goalkeeper, if you want to change the goalkeeper, have Sanchez at the number 2 and go and get a big goalkeeper signing that is really good on the ball. Someone like a Maignan, Diogo Costa. Let's properly upgrade this position and sort it out, because at the moment we're going to sign we would have signed 3-4 goalkeepers over the last 2 summers. So it's it is crazy, and who's to say that
sold Kepa?
Yeah, and it's madness. I think the winger situation is interesting. I do think that, like you said, Maresca likes touchline wingers, but also Cole Palmer literally said Maresca was the first one to play him on the right wing. Yeah. And he did. I know it's only youth. But he did have a very good goals and assists return under Maresca. Okay. So look, we'll see what happens. But the winger one's a bit confusing, because if it's a left-sided player, then I feel like we're well stocked there already, because Nkunku and Jackson can also play there. Whereas on the right-hand side, if Palmer does start maybe in the middle or whatever, and we'd only then really have Madueke. So. I feel like maybe we should get some.
I've got a weird question for you now. Do you at all see a reality in which Gusto ends up playing right wing in Conference League games?
I mean, maybe off the ball, maybe potentially Reece James could also do that. You could push
but I genuinely mean actual right wing, in terms of, because you just said, if we only have Palmer and Madueke. Well, let's say one of them is injured. The other one can't play every game. So then who fills in? Do we put a Sterling on the right? Or because we kind of if Reece James is fit, we're kind of Gusto is way too good to not play regularly. So you kind of want to fit him in somewhere anyway. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm coming from with the question? It's completely random shout. I just thought of it on the spot. It's not I've been thinking about this for God knows how long. But just, yeah. Could you see it happen at all? If no, then no. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it can be impossible.
Yeah, there you go. It's a tricky one. Like I say, it's a tricky one. I do want to get through a couple of pieces of information that we got from Maresca's training. Obviously, Chelsea, and I urge everyone to watch. It's a bit long to watch it here on stream now, but I still urge everyone to take a look at it. A few days ago, Chelsea uploaded a Enzo Maresca focus or training focus, whatever, video where they essentially just filmed him during, I don't know, if a few days of training sessions, I guess. And it was very interesting. Not necessarily that you found any tactical intricacies that you're oh, blew my mind, because oh my God, what if we just found out? Because, well, that would be stupid if they made that public. But it was still very interesting. And also just like, I don't know, as a fan, and that's one of the things that I was just felt was lacking last year. And that's not even really on Poch as such. This kind of content of like trying to get us fans to, I don't know, get attached, or I don't know, to buy into the manager. I mean, I guess because Poch obviously is who he is, and with the Spurs parts, maybe they decided that wasn't even worth trying, and maybe fair enough, to be fair. But yeah, I thought it was a very good video that, I don't know, even though he says the word yes and well done a lot, hey, a positive influence can't be a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll take a look at that. Before that, just quickly, I'll reply to a few people in the chat. For example, Alexander is saying he's flying out tomorrow to see the Blues against Celtic. 1 month without 1 day until first game of the season. What? I'm confused, but if you're flying out tomorrow, have a safe flight and a lot of fun, mate. Also, Bertram in the house. Hello, mate. He says vibes look good in the videos, but again, so did they last year. Maresca look sharp, though. True, I agree, and you're also right. The vibes did look good, and also the vibes may have been killed. We might touch on that in a little bit as well. S asks an interesting question, Pies. When does the transfer window close this year? I swear last year, unlike usual, it didn't close on August 31st. It closed on like September 1st or 2nd or something. Do you know what date it closes this year? If not, I'll Google it.
It's the end of August, I think, some point. I'm not sure the exact date. But it's definitely the end of August.
Should be. Yes, 30th of August. 30th of August, 11 p.m. So midnight European time, 11 p.m. So yeah, why is it not just like staying like the whole 31st like it always used to be? But anyway, Todd says we're signing Looneyhan. I assume you mean Lunin. We're not, but we'll get to the goalkeeper chat a little bit later once Ollie joins, which should be happening in the next 10 minutes. I just want to keep the conversation to get Ollie involved in that as well. Vic said, the Maresca vibe is good, but I have no expectations for the season. Could be same shit, different toilet. Valid. Absolutely could be. And he also says, if it doesn't work, Maresca will explode at some point. To be honest, that's kind of something I'm looking forward to seeing. Because I don't know. I that was one of the things that I've, as much as Conte went too far the other way with his moaning in hindsight, I do like these kind of managers that like don't take shit. I'm not saying Poch does. To be fair, Poch is a bit like that as well. But Potter isn't. Do you know what I mean? So I don't mind that. But then again, all that really leads to, if he explodes, probably get sacked. Do you know what I mean? So can't wait for another manager next summer. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, also big up MMJ. Big up yourself. He says, big up to everyone. Big greetings from Finland. More love to all Chelsea fans. Big up yourself in Finland, mate. And what else do we have? Lyndon says, what would you do with David Dutcher for Fofana next season? Well, sell him. I mean, there's a few people. I can't remember who it was. Was it Ollie? Was it one of you guys was talking to me how of the random signings that no one really takes seriously, they quite like Fofana, but I don't know. I mean, he did half decently at Burnley, I suppose. But I mean, what about you, Pies? Would you do anything other than sell him? Because I think one thing that obviously we could loan him in England, but one thing that a lot of fans, but sometimes I feel like also the club likes to forget, is we only have 6 international loan spots. Like, we don't have infinite amounts of those. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, what would you do with Fofana? And that's why I was saying, like, sell him, because I don't want to use up one of the international loan spots. But then again, obviously, you could loan him somewhere within England. He already proved that he can score in the Prem. So maybe one of the lesser Prem teams, maybe one of the promoted sides takes him. What do you reckon, bro?
I'd definitely be open to offers. Depends how much it is, but yeah, I'd probably be looking to sell him. I don't think realistically he's going to make it. Obviously, we've just signed Marc Guiu as well, so yeah. You know, he's probably ahead of Fofana, obviously, in the pecking order. You know, so yeah, I'd probably look to sell him. If not, I'd probably look to loan him in the Premier League though, because he did do okay at Burnley. So if he could get some decent minutes, score, you know, like, I don't know, 6, 7+ goals in the Premier League next season, then we could definitely get some decent money next summer, I think.
We could, absolutely. But also it would just delay the whole, can we sell them, can we not, for just another year? Like we were talking about, the outgoings, getting rid of players is the actual tricky bit. So if we get an half-decent offer, I think we should take it, just to not put ourselves in a position where maybe ends up having a bad loan, and then next year he struggles. Do you know what I mean? Bertram follows up with another question, and it's mainly for you guys because I don't know. Any updates on the futures of Achampong and George? The only thing I read and heard is that supposedly only 3, maybe 2, academy players are going to go on pre-season tour, which is sad, especially when you see the Man City squad for pre-season and it's half kids. But that you touched on it earlier, we're almost like we teleported ourselves back 2 years just with a completely different squad because we have actually just over a year. Because we have a way too big of a squad again. We're back in the same position, really. Which you said this earlier, some media briefs, club briefs were like, well, we're trying to prepare the squad for a 75, 80 game season with obviously the Club World Cup in June happening as well. But still, I feel like we just have too big of a squad. And that's why we can't take more of the kids on pre-season tour, which is a shame. But in particular, on Achimpong and George, they are probably going to be the two, if there's not going to be a third, that goes on pre-season tour. Do you think they're going to end up getting a loan? Do you think they're going to get a season a bit like Gilchrist first, but they're going to be in the squad? What even is happening with Gilchrist?
I think, first of all, I'm very jealous that Bertram's probably still in Dubai. Obviously, I saw him out there. So, I think with Tyrick George, I think he could potentially, I see a situation where he could impress in pre-season and we don't look to sign a winger because he's a really, really good player. He's a really good talent. He could definitely play some Conference League games for us for sure. He's a top talent. I think Chelsea just put a training video out and, he scored. They showed a few clips of him scoring in there, a couple on his weak foot. So he's a really talented left winger. Again,
which we supposedly are looking for in the transfer market.
Yeah,
I do you even care about who's in the academy, man?
Yeah, I'd probably say we probably need more of a right-sided player, but
true. But they're not looking for that. They're looking for a right footer, right? So
So I don't know. I think Achimpong will either stay with the 21s or go on loan. He's 18, I think, so he's still really young. But I
personally think he should go out on loan because unless Reece spends the entire season injured again, then there's a use for Achimpong as essentially Gusto's backup, I suppose. But it all really matters, and we'll get to that in a second, how Maresca actually lines up. Because we have these ideas in our heads of the last 3 or 4 years of even going back to Thomas Tuchel when obviously Reece James at right wing back and stuff, and even last season, obviously when Reece played and when Gusto played, they were some of our most influential players in attack. That's unlikely to happen the same again under Maresca. Now, obviously, one of them is going to invert into midfield, which will allow them to be involved in attack and play, but more in the build-up of it rather than in, say, playing the final cross or shooting and scoring, these kind of things, or leading the counter-attack. So God knows what's going to happen there. But yeah, I guess maybe it depends a little bit on Reece's fitness situation. But if we, cross our fingers and touch wood that hopefully Reece will be fit a bit more this season, then surely Achimpong is best off getting a loan, no? But like you say, he's also still very young. So if he does another season in under-21s, it's probably not the worst. Maybe an early FA Cup round, like you said, maybe one of the Conference League games. Maybe one of those, like you said, for Tyrick George. Enoch says, is George better than Mudryk? Well, I'd hope not, in a way. I'd hope yes, also in a way. But also I'd hope not, because a lot younger. And, well, Chelsea will not care about him, as usual. Pies will probably tell me, no, actually, they quite like him and rate him. Yeah, but, who cares? They like and rate everyone and still buy 10,000 players in their positions ahead of them. So, but what's your reaction to this comment by Enoch? Is he better?
I've not watched much of Tyrick George. I just know he's a great talent. So, I can give you a verdict if he plays quite a bit for us next season, but probably not exactly the best person to ask.
No, absolutely. But at the same time, it's anyone that says yes to this has an agenda against Mudryk anyway. There's no way anyone says yes to this. Cheers to the new trim. I'm not sure about new trim. It's just seeing what happens if I don't shave, which is a bit more than 10 days now. Let's see what happens, because supposedly you need to figure that out, whether you can have a beard or not. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, let's talk about Enzo Maresca and training, which I do find quite interesting. Nizar Kinsella released that today, and obviously Pice, as usual, doing a good job at sharing it with the rest of us, saying training info. The Blues have been training to play in a similar setup to Maresca's previous club, Leicester, with a fullback moving into midfield and 2 attacking central midfielders pushing forward into attack. For me, still the one kind of little bit of information, I guess, that I'm missing and waiting for is it 100% going to be the right side inverting? Because that's what it was at Leicester.
Well,
Or is he a bit more broad, and could it also be the left side that inverted Chelsea? Because maybe I'm overthinking it, but to me that changes quite a lot, because I feel like it matters. I want to know if it's going to be Reece James in midfield, or if Reece James is going to end up playing one of the back three, which he also could. But if it's Gusto, I think Gusto is wasted if the right side tucks in. So I'd prefer the left side to tuck in, especially. But in terms of Cucurella, I think Cucurella, I'd much prefer Cucurella inverting into midfield than I would Cucurella inverting into a centre-back role. Cucurella can do that job, absolutely, and he did so at Brighton the season before we signed him. But he's short as shit. Like, I love Cucurella. People know that. I love him. But he's very short to play as a centre-back. Like, whether you like it or not, he's not that fast and he's not that tall. Neither of those things are great for a centre-back. But inverting as a midfielder, we've seen on multiple occasions now, he's amazing at. So that's what I think it would make much more sense to invert Cucurella. But I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen. So how do you see that? Do you even care that much? Do you think Cucurella as the left centre-back, essentially him from left-back inverting into centre-back rather than into midfield, is going to be perfectly fine? Or would you actually also prefer to see Cucurella in midfield? But then again, if I see Cucurella in midfield, I can't see Reece in midfield. And I kind of want that too. So where do you stand on all of this?
There in the training video, it looks like, I don't know if it's just a specific drill, but Reece is like in the middle of one of these like training drills. So potentially that's like, okay, I don't know, a hint. But look, like we just signed Veiga, and the report from David Ornstein was that Chelsea see him as inverting into midfield. So, also Cucurella. So everything kind of suggests it will be the left-hand side. But yeah, I will say, like, the one thing is I know, like, Reece James and, I do also feel like Gusto could do it as well. But the problem is, if they invert, especially Reece, obviously it takes away his attacking abilities. But on the positive side of things, I also feel like it can make him less injury prone, or like less injured, because like he won't be running as much back and forward. So I guess, he could use his creativity from deeper in midfield. But I just think the left-hand side, we should invert more, to be honest with you. Like, otherwise, why have we just signed Veiga? And, then you kind of have less use for Cucurella, I guess, in my opinion, if you don't invert the left-hand side.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, it's a weird one because Veiga is almost, well, obviously from a physical point of view, he's essentially the opposite of Marc Cucurella, right? So, obviously, you just said it there that Ornstein said, we're looking at him inverting into midfield and stuff, but from what I've seen, when I say what I've seen of him, is essentially nothing. I'm mostly judging off what he looks like, because he's so tall and so big and so physical. I'm not saying he can't play midfield, but the taller you are, the bigger your turning radius, the slower usually your acceleration. Even though I've heard that for his size, he actually has pretty good acceleration. But even still, obviously to some extent we lacked at points last season height and physicality midfield, so it's good that we have it as an option. But it's not something I would personally like to see too regularly. But obviously, I'm purely judging this now before I've actually seen Veiga play for Chelsea. Before I've seen Veiga play full stop, because I've seen clips, but I've not watched full games. So obviously, that opinion could very much change. But as of today, as of knowing his physical profile, I think surely he's much better suited to playing as a centre back than he is as a midfielder. But hey, maybe I'm just wrong, I suppose. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. And the reason why I brought it up is because obviously Nizar said he's been doing a similar setup to what he did at Leicester. I know he used the word similar, not same, but even still, I'm very intrigued to see whether it ends up being the left side that inverts or the right. But there's a few more pieces of information that have come out of Maresca's training over the last few days, I suppose. Chelsea players have been telling their representatives how much they have enjoyed Enzo Maresca's training session so far. And Pais, I'll ask you a quite straightforward question. Is this club PR, or do you believe in this truly? Like, I'm not saying it's wrong, but is the reason that we are reading it club PR?
No, I believe this is true. I believe it's true. To be fair, only because I've heard the same thing and I kind of trust my sources. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, otherwise I would, yeah, I do think it's true. From what I've heard as well, similar, like quite impressed with, his man management side, like the flexibility of the training sessions as well. Like they're not just doing one thing, they're not just doing passing drills or, they're not just doing running. Like it's a mixture of a lot of things. So I think from what I've heard, they're quite liking that. Like flexibility, a lot of different things happening in the training sessions. It's quite fun as well at times. Like it can be, like they can go from like a really strict drill, like like an intense drill, an intense passing drill, possession drill, or like a 1v1 or whatever. And then at the same time, they could be like playing tag, like in the same training session. So it's like, it's that like fine
feels
balance.
a bit like when Tuchel joined. Remember when Tuchel first joined, and then we got the news, they're using like tennis balls and to improve their touch.
I posted a video on, I started this account called Maresca Media. Like I thought it'd be
that's your account. I didn't
Yeah.
that. I thought you were just sharing their pictures or whatever.
No.
Like that. Okay.
I started it because I was like, hang on, there's a little bit of a gap in the market. I might have to.
I back it.
I might have to, and also my thought was it might help me back a manager more. So, yeah. So if you look at the recent video I've just posted, like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
it is a bit. What the hell? Why are they jumping around like mental people?
So they're doing stuff like this, and it's like obviously the players love this sort of thing, right? It's just fun, isn't it? But at the same time, they're also working very hard on like tactics and in the same session. So that's what I think they're quite liking at the moment. Whereas, with Pochettino, there's a lot of just intense running,
especially in pre-season, I assume.
And also like it can go other ways as well. Like if Maresca was just doing possession passing drills, the players would probably be like, oh, fucking hell, like this is a bit crazy, isn't it? Like, like they might not like it as much. So this is a fine balance I think Maresca is getting right at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it does look quite fun. What I'm assuming is happening here, Guiu is supposed to get the red band out of, is it Sterling? Sterling, or is it Nkunku?
I can't actually tell.
I can't tell either.
I think it's Nkunku, isn't it?
The hair made me think it's Sterling first, but maybe Nkunku just has different hair now. So maybe.
Who is it?
Anyway, I think he's trying to steal that. It's not really doing a great job at it, to be fair. Cute. And I'm like, how is he ever supposed to get it if the others just jump around? But hey, there you go. If they're having fun, I'm not complaining about it. I think fun in training is one of the most important things now. Obviously, sure, if you're fighting for a title towards the end of the season, it's Nkunku with the red. Okay, people seem to be quite confident. But then again, Coach, I thought it's Sterling as well. So that's what I'm saying.
Pause it right at the end because you see like little cut, isn't there? Like ready right at the end. There's like a little.
Shall I try to pause it? Oh, brilliant!
Or is it the start or the end? You can see like where the transition, where the player picks the red.
I think it's Nkunku.
It's Nkunku. Yeah, it's Nkunku. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it looks like fun. Obviously, they won't be playing these kind of games during the season because in pre-season you have usually 2 training sessions a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. While usually during the season you'll only do 1 training session a day, especially now that we have midweek games again with the European competition. But still, like I say, fun is an important part of football because. I mean, especially with the Chelsea fans and with how everything's going, there's enough negativity, enough depressing thoughts and depressing vibes happening. So I think it's important and good that they make the training an enjoyable experience. One last thing from training that I saw is from Kieran Gill. There is a feeling already that Maresca's tactical instructions are much clearer than previous coaches. I would love to know how many coaches this previous coaches talks about. Like, are we going back to Potter? Are we going back to Tuchel? There's not really many players left that worked under Tuchel now, are there? Like what? Sterling, Reece, Chilwell? That's it?
I feel like from the report he meant Potter and Pochettino. From the report.
Probably. Maybe Lampard as well, but probably.
Yeah, true, Lampard, yeah.
But hey, still good to see to some extent because I think one of the most important things when you have young players, like when you have older players, more senior players that, as stupid as that sounds now, the expression that I'm trying to use, know what they're doing, it's a bit different. But the younger your team is, the less experienced in high pressure situation, in big games, but even in your average Premier League game they are, I feel like the more important clear instructions from the managers are, if that makes sense. Like like I say, if you have a team full of it, like for example, go back to 2012, right, when Chelsea won the Champions League. Chelsea sacked Andre Villas-Boas, sorry. Robbie Di Matteo was essentially the assistant or one of the assistants at the time, and then he just took over. Robbie Di Matteo is no tactical genius. Look at Robbie Di Matteo's managerial career after Chelsea. It didn't go that well, but he was fantastic at just being a man manager. But because that group of Didier Drogba, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole, Peter Cech, John Obi Mikel, like even Malouda was still in the squad, Torres as well. They didn't need to like. Obviously, a tactical approach might have helped us be a bit better, but in terms of getting a win over the line, playing to some sort of acceptable level when it matters, these players didn't need that much help. They had a lot of experience. They were, much bigger personalities as well because they were just grown men and grown adults that had achieved. I think with young players, it's much more important to have the instructions. Do you see that the same, or do you think that applies to no matter who the players are that you'd prefer more instructions?
I think it's more important for the state of our squad right now because we've got so many like young and talented players, and there's so many players where we're like, he can be amazing, like he can be really good, but it's like there's a lot of like it's potential, right? Like so, exactly. With that, I'd rather have a tactical approach and someone that can kind of like I know it's hard because, like, I know some people have said, Maresca's going to limit some players because he's too possession-based and he's going to lose the freedom that Poch had. But I'd rather a coach like this because I feel like they'll learn more from a coach like this, even though he's, like, it sounds weird because, like, I know he's not, like, he's hardly got any manager experience, but look at, like, the reports coming out already. Like, look at him in training. He seems so much like, I don't know, like, maybe it's just because he's been under Pep and it's, like, hopium, but, like, he just does seem more of a coach than like Pochettino and Potter, which is crazy because they have infinitely more experience, but like he just does from like what we've seen. So he just seems
also,
like
I'm not sure if you noticed it as well, but whenever they filmed Maresca from behind, I'm like, this could equally as much be Pep Guardiola. Like he's from behind, he looks like Pep. I mean, maybe that's the whole tactic, just turn around on the touchline so all the players think we've got Pep Guardiola all of a sudden they play a whole lot better. I mean, maybe that's the plan. Maybe I haven't seen the vision of Clear Lake. Maybe I finally clocked it. But yeah, like, I mean, there's been a few people in the chat. Like, what have I seen here? Like, missed the chat now, but someone was talking about like it's looked good and everything else, and they're excited and stuff. I am. I mean, Lyndon asked that question, and it is an interesting one as well. Who's the player you are excited to see most in pre-season? Who is? You can give me three if that's easier.
Yeah, I can't do one. We'll go with fucking hell. No, three's even difficult because like
give me five. You want, bro?
I got a lot of players, man. I got a lot of players I really want to see. I'll say no order. I'll say Nkunku. Lavia, because we didn't see him last season for sure.
Yeah,
I think he's a really good player. Carney Chukwuemeka, he's one of my favourites. I want to see him play more. Really excited to see him. Probably say Kunku, Lavia, Carney. You know what? Probably Jackson again, to be honest with you. I really liked Jackson last season. He was one of my favourite players. And probably Wesley Fofana again, to be fair, because he's come back from injury.
It's like you've been absolutely like spooked. How have they said it just as you said it? It makes no sense. But yeah, two people talking about Wesley Fofana.
Just because he's been out so long, like there's so many like Lavia and Nkunku. Like I know we saw Nkunku a little bit, but like Lavia, we saw him for like 20 minutes. So he is a new signing, like literally.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Billy G says Santos, certainly one that I look forward to seeing. I'm not really sold that he'll be here next season. Like I'm not saying we're selling him, but I'm not sure whether he might not end up going on loan. And then I'm like, stop, teasing me. Then I'm like, loan them out before preseason, so I don't have to get excited about it first. Amaya says Jackson's injured. No, yes, he is. I guess we could get to that. He's still laboring off an ankle injury that he picked up on international duty with Senegal after the season finished in that June international break. He picked up an ankle injury. Unfortunately, he is training, but he's training away from the group. But he seems to be going to the US on Monday. So I assume he's going to be involved, if not in the first couple games, but eventually. Is Lavia back in training? As far as I know, he is, right, Post?
Yeah, he's back in training, yeah. No,
who would I? Let me get back to the question because I need to pick my own. I would say Lavia as well as one of them, absolutely. I'm intrigued by Marc Guiu, but obviously these reports out of Spain, as much as they might not be the most credible ones, that supposedly Maresca told Guiu to go on loan because there's supposedly an offer from Espanyol there. Then I'm less excited because if he's going to be here and get some minutes, and I'm excited to see what he can do. If he's going to go out on loan, then there's almost no point because let me see how he develops on loan first and then get excited next year. I'm kind of excited by Caicedo, but then a Caicedo type player isn't really the type of player and even Lavia that I get super excited for pre-season. Do you know what I mean? For in the actual season, that's one thing. But in pre-season, I'm not really all about a defensive midfield. I'll be honest. But I'm very intrigued to find out how Enzo is going to play, how Caicedo is going to play. Well, Enzo is a whole separate topic. We might get to that in a bit. But I want to see Enzo Fernandez play football. Let's see when it happens. A couple of people in the chat were talking about Reece James. And the reason why I can't be excited about Reece James is because he's suspended for the first 3 Prem games. So if when he plays in pre-season he does well, it's going to annoy me. It's going to annoy me that he's suspended. So obviously we might have that. Well, no, we will have that Conference League playoff game. So that's going to be before he's going to be back in the Prem. But purely from a Prem perspective, it's just going to annoy me. So yeah, I'll say Lavia, I'll say Guiu, and I'll say Mudryk. I'll keep the hope alive for at least one more season, and we see how it goes from there. And to make things even better, we are now also joined by Ollie Carpenter. Thank you, Ollie, for joining us. We appreciate you. How you doing, my friend? And also, are you excited for Chelsea? Or not? You can say no. It's okay.
I'm not. But first of all, hi Loz, hi chat, hi Post. Hope you're all doing well and having a good day today. I'm excited for Chelsea coming up. It's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. We spend most of our time complaining about this club, but it always seems to be the way when pre-season at least is only a number of days away now. You can't help but get that little tingle in the back of your head that something's going to happen this season. It could be it could be our year. Could all be different. It's I like to be able to look forward to the season every year.
I do too. So 2 years ago, kind of pre-season ruined our hype again because obviously 4-0 to Arsenal in pre-season and stuff, and then we all kind of already knew, oh no, what's going to happen. Then last season we got absolutely bamboozled by pre-season where we thought, actually, this could be brilliant. Who would have thought? And then we realized, Poch is only good in pre-season, not when the actual season starts. So that was a bit of a shame. But yeah, now that Ollie is here, because I did hold off talking about this topic, we can talk about the big goalkeeper story of the day. Because a couple of people have been asking about goalkeeper situation as well, like Todd B, thoughts of Mamadashvili. We'll get to that. Let's bring up the news. Let me quickly find the tab, because that was kind of the big thing that came out today, that Chelsea are out of nowhere all of a sudden looking at a goalkeeper. That's not necessarily the one I wanted to bring up, but I guess we start here. From Nizaki and Seller, Petrovic's, Chelsea future is in doubt. Chelsea have offered him to Genoa, but he is deemed too expensive for them. Now, Chelsea are looking for a new goalkeeper, supposedly to compete with Robert Sanchez. Let me just try to find the Maresca, the goalkeeper. Where is it then? In the past 24 hours. Yeah, that's one of the main ones. In the past 24 hours, Chelsea have decided that they will enter the market for a goalkeeper this summer, but not to replace Robert Sanchez. They are in the market for a keeper who may start on the bench before being given the chance to push Sanchez. Ollie, I'll go with you first. Where do you stand on the whole situation? All of a sudden, we want a new goalkeeper. Why didn't we want a new goalkeeper in June? I guess Maresca saw them in training now, so I guess that there is that a little bit. But yeah, all of a sudden we want a goalkeeper, but we're still not looking for like an actual world-class goalkeeper like a Mignon or like a Diogo Costa or something like that. We're looking at someone to be on the bench initially and be given the chance to compete with Sanchez, who none of us think is anywhere near good enough in the first place. So, brilliant. Yeah, where do you stand on it? And also from my perspective, as much as people, absolutely destroyed me for saying Petrovic had a worldy 6 months. Okay, I meant worldy by what I expected from an MLS goalkeeper that's never played in the Prem before. Not worldy by an Alisson standard, but fair enough. I thought he was way better than Sanchez. And now he's the one leaving. I feel a bit bad for him. Even if I get it from a tactical standpoint, why that's happening, it's still, I feel bad for the guy. So, Ollie, where do you stand on the whole goalkeeper discussion?
Yeah, it's interesting that we're looking for a goalkeeper now. It's been sort of formally announced because, previously and up until literally today, it was sort of the thought thing that we were going to go into next season with Sanchez and Petrovic and just do what we could. Clearly, Maresca's probably had a word and had a stake in that conversation because now it's changing a week after he's sort of seen all the players in the first training sessions. I feel bad for Petrovic. I think he's getting the real raw end of the deal here. I think if you're going to replace either Sanchez or Petrovic, I think personally for me you have to replace Sanchez. Petrovic can still be a backup. He would still want to be a backup. This avoids you having to buy a backup. Just sell Sanchez. The problem probably is that we can't. There's no one who wants to buy Sanchez because he's rubbish. Because he doesn't inspire any confidence in his defence. He's quite rash with his passes, often playing them out of play. I know a lot of people seem to think that he is better than Petrovic at passing, and the stats probably do reflect that a little bit as well. But whenever I've seen him on the ball, he's looked shaky and awkward. That, like I say, he doesn't inspire confidence in the defence in front of him. And for being 6'4", 5'6", something like that, 6'5", I think he is, he can't catch crosses. And he's got a big wingspan. He's tall. He should be able to catch crosses. It's almost like having a tall midfielder in goal. And I think if you're going to go out,
Loftus-Cheek would be a better goalkeeper than Sanchez.
Yeah, you might be right. I think if you're going to do anything with the goalkeeper situation, for me, I think you've got to show a bit of ambition in the market. The goalkeeper position is one of the hardest to get right. So sometimes you have to put your money where your mouth is. Look, listen, I know it's not necessarily like the easiest deal to pull off, but Ederson wants to leave Man City. We've seen it all summer. That he's been talking about leaving. He would play the exact same.
I don't think he wants to play elsewhere in the Prem. I think
that would probably maybe be a stumbling block then, because you would think that he would work really well under Maresca's system, having that sort of ball playing goalkeeper. I think if you're going to do it, you have to really lean into it and actually go all out and show some damn ambition. Like the fact that your coach is telling you that your goalkeepers aren't good enough, for me, isn't good enough as a process either. Again, on top of all this, it just proves that we've stuck them both on 7-year deals, Petrovic and Sanchez. Spent 48 million on the pair of them together. So for me, it's just like, what are you doing? Like 1 year into a 7-year contract, you're throwing this away for maybe a bit of profit. Listen, I know Petrovic isn't pulling up trees, but he was certainly better than Sanchez last season. That's why I don't really mind us going for a goalkeeper, because I think it's the right thing to do, because the goalkeeping situation is pretty weak. But I think if you have to get rid of one, you get rid of Sanchez.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a weird one. I'm not sure if I fully agree with that last bit you said, purely for the reason. I mean, I understand because you just don't agree that Sanchez is better at passing than Petrovic, which I guess is fair enough.
He is probably like a little better, but like I don't think it makes a massive difference personally.
I do think maybe it's not purely just ability, but I think having the balls to actually do it. Like we watched Petrovic last season. Petrovic under pressure will punt it. If he does that on Maresca will take him off and bring the under 18s goalie on if he has to.
But Sanchez has spent most of the last season punting the ball as well. It's not like
no, he hasn't. That's why he constantly passed it to the opponent.
He was passing it to the opponent, or he's playing it out of play onto the touchline, punting it out of play. He for me, like I think people are trying to make Sanchez to be out something he's not, which is a good goalkeeper with his feet. Less of all because we had someone like look at Roberto De Zerbi. Listen, I have no love for De Zerbi, but he's someone who likes a ball playing goalkeeper as well, and he fell out with Brighton with Sanchez and kicked him out of the club precisely for this reason. He's not good enough.
Wasn't he kicked out for disciplinary reasons?
No, they didn't get on, but that's what it stemmed from.
Okay,
he dropped him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, Ashraf says you guys really thought Petrovic was going to stay long term. He's also another proper goalkeeper like every other kid we've bought. No, but I think when you are given the chance, whether that happens coincidentally through injury of the other guy or not, when you are given a chance and you take your chance to the extent that Petrovic has, it feels a bit harsh that he's now the one to be sacrificed. But
well, it
even
doesn't
though
seem to agree with like the basic principles of fairness, right? See, Petrovic comes in from a worse league, arguably the worst player, comes in, uproots Sanchez out of his spot, takes his spot all season. Arguably, he should be rewarded for that, not punished.
Exactly. Yeah. The only reason, like, well, I get it. I do think Sanchez is probably is better at passing. I'm not saying he's great. Definitely isn't. But certainly better. And I understand the logic that if, say, we're in a situation like last year and Sanchez is the starting goalkeeper, and then Sanchez gets injured, and then you bring the second choice goalkeeper in. If then there is a drastic difference in how they play, then when you have a manager that's so set on his structure and his style of play, then and if the goalkeeper is so important to that, then having a stylistically very different goalkeeper will have quite an impact on how the rest of the team deals with that and has to play. So that's why I understand the logic in wanting two goalkeepers that have similar strengths, because if one is out for whatever reason, you can replace him without it changing much. So that I get it from that perspective, but that's literally the only perspective I get it in. And I think the important bit, and I'm going to get to Pies about it in a second now, the important thing about it, like you said, Ollie, is if you're going to do it, go for someone actually good. Don't go for someone who's maybe worse than Petrovic as, say, a shot stopper, but a bit better on the ball. Like, there's no flipping point in doing that. Like, especially because, at least so far, obviously things can still change, but at least so far, we haven't gone big in the transfer market this summer. Like last year, we had Caicedo, and the year before, well, in January, we had Enzo and Mudryk. And even the summer before, we had fairly big money signings. So you get why they're not also adding a lot of, like, a big signing goalkeeper. But now, we've kind of held off signing anyone big in terms of financial fee. So I'm like, with that being the case, why not use it to act? Because you've spent a lot and you've tried to, in terms of talent, significantly improve every other area of the pitch, every area, except goalkeeper. Like in goalkeeper, they haven't done that. Even Petrovic at the time, he was a 23-year-old European that played in America and came over and did surprisingly well compared to what I thought he would be, to be fair. But, like, when you compare it to the other signings we've made from Caicedo or Enzo or even Mudryk or Jackson, like, who, wasn't that well hyped, but then you see him and you're like, oh, well, there's clearly a player in there. And it just makes me question, no, not question. It just proves my whole thought the whole time that even though the Clear Lake Sexuals want to defend it with their lives, the Clear Lake and the sport directors don't have as clear of a plan as they claim to. And that's the frustrating part for me, because let's look back to a year ago. They gave Pochettino a 2-year contract. So it was never, ever the plan for Pochettino to be here long term. And it was seemingly always the plan, and because that's what was briefed essentially even when they took over initially, like that we want to be a ball-playing team, a possession-heavy team, an attacking team, this and that. So they were always leaning in the direction of, say, a Potter, of now like a Maresca, of that kind of manager, like a new Arteta, a new Xabi Alonso, that kind of thing. That's what they wanted. So they were always going to need a goalkeeper that was good with the ball at his feet. So why the fuck did you sign Petrovic in the first place? He's not a bad player, but that's, if anything, his biggest weakness from the whole thing. But you knew, supposedly, that that's what you're going to play like next season. So why buy him in the first place? That's just where my big question comes from. And Pies, I'll bring you in now. Obviously, there's the follow-up tweet below as well. While Petrovic is highly rated, there is a concern that there's too great a difference between him and Sanchez. Should Maresca need or want to make a change? Pies, me and Ollie have spoken for a few minutes now. Where do you stand on the situation? Do you feel bad for Petrovic? Do you think that we should be selling Sanchez and keep Petrovic? What do you think about what me and Ollie spoke about, that well, Sanchez is better on the ball, so it makes sense if you need a good goalie on the ball, it makes sense that you'd have two that are good at it, rather than replacing Sanchez with someone that may be better, but then you still have Petrovic who isn't that good. It makes sense if you have two that are good at that, for me, even if it still feels harsh on Petrovic. But yeah, where do you stand in the price? Before, and by the way, guys, we will get into replacement chat as well. Let's finish the initial conversation first, and about Petrovic, and then we'll talk about potential replacement.
I think it's ridiculous. I think Petrovic, for me, going to the games last season, going to a lot of the games, judging from what I saw, there was only one goalkeeper that made me nervous on the ball, and that was Sanchez. It wasn't Petrovic. So I don't understand where this narrative comes from that Sanchez is such a great ball-playing goalkeeper. I think he's overconfident on the ball. I think he's decent on the ball, but I don't think he's like this elite ball-playing goalkeeper that means that we have to sell Petrovic or get rid of Petrovic now. I think it's ridiculous that like Matt Law reports that there's too great of a difference in this. I think it's absolute nonsense. I think Petrovic, in the same article, Matt Law literally says that Chelsea believe that Petrovic is talented, and then in the same article, he also says that there's too great a difference. Like, which one is it? Like, do you believe in him?
Maybe they didn't mean difference in ability, but more difference in style of goalkeeper.
So if you need the backup and it's not the same style, then the whole style.
Maybe that's what the difference.
But then Sanchez made more mistakes on the ball than Petrovic did last season. Like,
and that's where I come in. And I contend with that because I genuinely don't think that the supposed gulf between them in terms of passing the ball isn't as big as people think it is.
This is minimal, to be honest, if anything. And as I said, Sanchez made more mistakes than Petrovic did on the ball last season.
But wouldn't you say that is because Petrovic, when there is a pressure situation, not even when there is no pressure, Petrovic just punted it. Obviously, if you're always going to punt it, you're less likely to make a big mistake with the ball at your feet.
I think Sanchez did that. I think Sanchez did that a lot though as well. Like I was watching funny enough, I was watching like both comps of both of these keepers last season and ball playing comps specifically, and a lot of Sanchez's completed passes are actually long balls as well. So, yes, I would say he plays it shorter more than Petrovic, but I just don't understand why we need to sign a goalkeeper because, like, Petrovic is workable. Like, if you want to sign a goalkeeper, like Ollie said, sign a Diogo Costa, sign a Maignan, sign someone that is
make a statement of intent with it.
Like make a statement of intent, or just don't do anything because you're gonna spend 20-25 million on a goalkeeper, and you're probably gonna be in this position next year.
Yeah,
or you're
give
gonna
him another
have to
7-year
sign a
contract
goalkeeper next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's crazy. Sanchez is not gonna. I highly doubt Sanchez is gonna be here the season after next. So like, I just don't understand this narrative. Like I think personally, the goalkeeper that we signed this summer is going to take over Sanchez during the season, and then Sanchez is going to get sold next summer, in which we could have just kept Petrovic the whole fucking time and believed in him. Like, I don't understand it, but, it is what it is. It's just it's more bad planning from, Wino and Stewie. These guys are just clueless. They put all this PR about, Pochettino's the guy.
Wino and Stewie.
Yeah, like Wino and Stewie. Like, Pochettino's the guy, that we're building with Pochettino, took ages to sack him, weren't going to sack him during the season because they thought that things could turn around. And yet, they get a goalkeeper, Pochettino, for Pochettino, and then that's it. They get rid of Pochettino. They think, actually, we needed a change in style. And now our goalkeeper that we signed last summer has to suffer from it because we believe he's not absolutely elite on the ball. I mean, how ridiculous. Why sign Petrovic in the first place? Like, so stupid, honestly.
Because what a lot of people like to forget as well is when we initially signed Sanchez, we still had Kepa. And supposedly, Poch was planning to go into the season with Kepa as his number one. And Sanchez was brought in as the competition who potentially could have or would have taken over from Kepa throughout the season. But then we got this loan offer from Real Madrid. Well, initially, there was obviously the conversation with Bayern Munich about Kepa because obviously Neuer was still injured and they sold Sommer and stuff like that, right? And then all of a sudden, we loaned Kepa out to Real Madrid, needed a new goalkeeper, spawned this guy from the MLS, who turned out to be better than we thought. But still, like I said earlier, I'm not fully, I understand what you're saying, that the difference isn't that big in terms of, number of mistakes. But I do feel like the mistakes from Sanchez will also go down in a Maresca system because the system will be more based to playing out from the back, while Poch's system was not. Therefore, the passes that the goalkeeper has to make if he wants to play out from the back are more difficult passes than in the system that is intended to be played out from the back end, if that makes sense. So I do think that will automatically get better, but that applies to both goalies, though. That applies to Petrovic and that applies to Sanchez. If you have a system where you're planning to play out from the back all the time, well, then the players are going to position themselves in easier positions for the goalkeeper to pass them to, right? So I do think it will get a bit better also for Sanchez. But the question is, who the flip are we going to replace him with? And that's the big question. I'm going to bring up this tweet.
And that's the big worry as well with them talking about bringing in someone who's going to, be a backup to start with, because you just feel like that kind of signing isn't going to move the needle.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they did with
Sanchez. They might go out. They might go out and get someone like someone who has a similar sort of development arc to like Jackson, but in goal. And actually, like it turns out to be a really good signing, and we all think, yeah, crikey, they've done a good job there. But it's just as much of a chance that they're going to go out there and spend a small amount of money on a scrub when they should have spent more money on someone better.
My worry with this. My worry is that we're gonna go to the data analytics team. We're gonna go find us someone who's at the very top end of short pass completion.
Oh no!
And sweeper keeper actions, and we're gonna sign someone, and they're gonna be mid or below average at shots.
No, I can already see what we're gonna do, Pies. I can already see it. We're going into Brighton for Verbruggen. That was what we'll do.
I think we'll get the Leicester goalkeeper.
It's not a bad shout. He could work as well, I suppose.
Imagine, man. Imagine. It's so depressing, the whole thing, because I mean, I
didn't expect the goalkeeping situation at the club to get worse. Let's put it that way.
That's just the thing, because what Pies just said, if they do that, who's going to pop up there? Probably fucking Alisson. And then they're going to say, oh shit, he earns way too much money. No chance we can do that. Okay, who's next in the list? Oh, it's Ter Stegen. Okay, he also earns way too much money. Shit. Okay, who's the next one? Oh, it's Alisson. Shit, he also earns way too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if they do this whole, like, which number on the list is going to accept the kind of wages that Chelsea want to pay? Like,
I know.
People have been talking about that Alvaro Valles, though, at Las Palmas. Apparently, he's really pulling up trees. I can't say I've ever watched him play, but apparently people are very impressed with him.
Yeah.
He's on £2,000 a week.
I think we can do that. I think even that might even just be enough for Bedad to.
I think what it is with him, he's got like very good Aussie passing stats, but he's also got like a very high goals prevented or whatever it is stat. So yeah.
I just always think it's very difficult signing a goalkeeper for as a big team, signing a goalkeeper from bad teams, maybe the wrong word, but a team that's usually the team that gets dominated rather than a team that is the one dominating, because that changes everything for a goalkeeper. And I
in terms of concentration in games and stuff, yeah, it's totally different.
First of all, that, but also, like, even if he is good with the ball at his feet, I'm sure that is a bit different at Las Palmas than it is at Chelsea Football Club in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? The whole
when the spotlight's on you all the time.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's just like, it worries me. I don't really know what will happen. But yeah, I mean, there's a few people in the chat that talk about many different chances. Obviously, Alvaro Valles, or Valles, probably how it's pronounced, is mentioned. Ashraf says Valles, Chevalier, or Mamadashvili, no one else. Connor, obviously you all know Connor. Shout out Connor. His first choice is Martin Bulka, obviously formerly already of Chelsea Academy. Then we sold him to PSG, where he was third choice goalkeeper behind Keylor Navas and Donnarumma, and then he went to Nice, where he's doing a really good job. Now, in general, people know I like Cobham, so hey, bring someone from Cobham back, I guess. But I don't know. Connor is also talking about other names that he had on his list if Chelsea were going to attack a goalkeeper or the goalkeeper market. Bento, well, he's now gone to Saudi Arabia, so he's not on the list anymore. Chevalier, who obviously was mentioned in the chat as well, plays for Lille. I mean, I don't know much about him. He's French.
He's all right. He
gets an inform on FIFA every year, and he plays for Lille. So that's my level of information there. And obviously, Alvaro Valles, or Valles, again, like Connor said, he also mentions Bad Verbruggen. Like Connor also says, would mean having to deal with Brighton again. And do we want that? I don't know. Ollie, I go with you first. Where do you stand at? Do any of these satisfy what you'd potentially be looking at? Just to quickly mention it, Ashraf has obviously mentioned Valles and Chevalier like Connor did, but he also mentioned Mamadashvili. I think the issue with Mamadashvili, as fantastic as he is, as fantastic as he was, exactly, as fantastic as he was at the Euros and also for Valencia, it seems like the ball at his feet is a bit like Petrovic, the one big weakness, or his one weakness, or his biggest weakness, whatever. So as great as he is on this line, first of all, we will definitely not be buying him. And I would also argue if that is true, and I haven't watched him, so other than at the Euros, so I can't tell you. If it is true, if he isn't that good with the ball at his feet, then we probably shouldn't buy him either, because I'm just talking about how stupid it was by the directors and owners to buy Petrovic if he wasn't good at that. So don't buy another one that has the same issue. Play good football, yeah, no, it's true. They do play high, but high possession based still as being Las Palmas. Like, what happens when they play a good team? Do you know what I mean? Isn't going to be James Trafford, isn't it? I mean,
I hate it. I hate it so much.
If it's Ramsdale, Trafford, Pickford, I will
Oh.
genuinely do some serious things to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, someone
it's got like you got to be going for someone like a Diogo Costa. Like, I don't mind Chevalier. I don't mind Vaez either. He's all right. Like you say, Mabadashvili, the passing game is the problem, isn't it? The other names I've heard, someone like Alban Lafont from, I think he plays for Toulouse. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anyone else. We need like a.
Does he play for Toulouse? Did he move? Oh, because I thought he played for Nantes, but maybe.
He might play for Nantes now, but he played for Toulouse. Maybe when he was younger, but he's a good player. Very tall. It's useful for a goalkeeper, but not always useful if you're Sanchez because you can't catch crosses. But yeah, the goalkeeper market's a little dry. If I can't lie, there aren't many great options out there, and it seems the ones that would be really good and also available would be someone like, there's half a chance Edison could have moved this summer, but I don't think he wants to play in the Premier League anymore, and his wages would be about 5 times too high for us anyway. So we're struggling with that trade-off at the moment of quality and wages. And for a goalkeeper, I think you really need someone who's going to hold the fort down, and I can't see us going for a backup doing that.
Yeah, that's the whole problem, isn't it? Because I'm the same as you. I'm like, okay, I mean, I wouldn't mind Bolka. I'm sure there's positives to Chevalier and Vaez and whatever. None of these get me off my seat, I can't lie. But I will also be honest, you mentioned Joe Costa there as one that would. A few years ago, I was like, nah, man, Joe Costa, he's a bit small. He's a bit like Kepa, will he just concede long shots? Do you know what I mean? Because he's a bit short. Not like super short. I think he's a bit taller than Kepa, but still on the fairly short side for a keeper. So, see how times change. Now, I bite your fucking hands off for Joe Costa. A few years ago, when we had standards, I was like, nah, he's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Even if I know that we had Kepa at the time, and you could argue the standards are similar. But yeah, Pais, where do you stand on it? Connor has mentioned his name. Is there a goalkeeper where you're like, yeah, I want him? That's not like Joe Costa or Michael Mignon? Or like, if it's any of these, are you just going to be unhappy? Or because the one thing I will say is certainly Chevalier and Bulka are not coming here to be on the bench for Sanchez to start with. That's for sure. Like Vaez, I don't know, but certainly these other two are not coming to be on the bench. So then you maybe have to go even a step worse than them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd probably say Bolka is the one that I'm most interested with, because I think, remembering back when I saw him for Chelsea, especially in that pre-season we had, I always thought he was a solid goalkeeper back then. And he went to PSG, didn't he? I think, and he didn't really play, and it's kind of always.
It was Joyce goalie initially.
Yeah, he sort of stayed in France.
Bring him home, man.
Yeah, I rate the league. I think he's a bit of a giant as well, and he's good on the ball. So, why not? Yeah, bring him home. Bring Bolka home, as the hashtag says. That's what I would do.
Exactly, do that. But because he used to play for Cobham, that's probably the main reason why they will purposely not sign him now. So, probably not going to happen because they don't like people from Cobham, do they? But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see over the next few days whether we're going to get any particular links. But for now, it's all a bit of speculation, and we hope at least we go for someone of that kind of level, of at least Bolka, Chevalier, Valles. Not worse. But Pais, would you be totally shocked if they turn up with another MLS goalie that just happens to be a bit better with the ball at his feet?
No, as I said, I think it's going to be Hermansen from Leicester. I think he wages, probably the price. He was literally Maresca's goalkeeper. We've already signed someone from Leicester. We have a good relationship with them. So, I'd probably see that one happening. If not, it'll probably be some sort of goalkeeper, maybe like Valles, that's, not hidden as such, but he is in, sort of footballing well. People will be like, "What the hell is that?"
It's going to be some Colombian 12-year-old, isn't it?
It's going to be someone random or Hermansen, in my opinion. I don't think it'll be Bolka, because I think he'll be like 30, 35 mil. And as you said, like, if it's to start on the bench initially, I don't see Bolka doing that. So
yeah, they're not spending over 20 million.
Maybe he would, like,
obviously,
he's from Cobham, so maybe he'll be like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, I'll come back. It's fine." But I just don't like this kind of goalkeeper he is. I don't.
Would he count as homegrown?
So
yeah, I think he would.
Yeah, I think he would, wouldn't he?
I think we signed him young enough. Although I'm not sure if he played enough, because remember, Noni Madueke weirdly doesn't count as homegrown. Isn't that strange? Because in the age of 18 to 21, he spent not enough time in England, and that's why he doesn't count for some reason. God knows. Weird rules. I mean, Nizar Kinsella here, there's like the Villarreal goalkeeper, Philip Jorgensen, who's half Danish, half Norwegian, I think, or half Danish, half Swedish, whatever it may be. There was a rumor about this already like a month ago. I don't know. Obviously, Mamardashvili is mentioned there. Ameya says Kinsella also mentioned, obviously, James Trafford. Yeah, I just don't know. I take Bulka, but what I have heard, I'm not sure if you have actually heard this as well, Pies, but I have heard that Chelsea at one point actually have spoken to Bulka's representatives already this summer, but at the time was more of like just seeing what the situation is rather than like a serious chase or trying to sign him. But now seemingly the situation of us wanting a goalkeeper has changed a little bit. So I guess maybe it is. Yeah, no, it's not about the nationality when it comes to homegrown though. It's about like, where have you been educated? And because he spent time, obviously, at PSV in those years that count for the homegrown bit, that's why he doesn't count. Yeah, it's not about nationality. That's why, for example, Andreas Christensen, he counted as homegrown because we signed him at 15. And then he was at Chelsea. And, well, he also spent 2 years, to be fair, at Mönchengladbach. So I don't know how that goes. But maybe also the rules have changed. I don't know. But yeah, I just hope it's not Jorgensen. If I'm honest, because I'm like, who the flip is that guy? Ashraf says Jorgensen guy is worse than Kepa. Well, what is a worse Kepa 2.0? So bad stats. I do say this though: stats for a goalkeeper very questionable because the team plays such a big part in stats for a goalkeeper. Like you can talk about goals prevented this, goals prevented that, yeah. But if the team you play for consistently gives the opponent huge chances, well, then the goalkeeper is less likely to save goals than if the situation is people having to shoot under pressure from distance, from like tight angles. Then that makes the job for the goalkeeper much easier. Like people were sending me so many stats today how Sanchez was last season way better than Petrovic. I'm like, yeah, but this is not because of them though. Like just use your eyes and you could see that Petrovic was clearly better, both at saving and at not making mistakes. But at the beginning of the season, Poch actually thought, okay, let me play how the directors want me to play. Then turns out we were terrible. So he started playing Poch-ball again, which helped our results, but made the defense much worse. And which half of the season did Couch Critic? It's not my fucking fault. I don't make the rules. I don't decide whether he's homegrown or not. But yeah, second half of the season, our defense was so bad that obviously Petrovic's stats don't look that good. Because we conceded 3,000 goals. But how many goals of those did anyone feel like Petrovic was at fault for? I mean, off the top of my head, and I could very well be wrong, I remember like 2, maybe 3 mistakes that he made. I guess maybe 4 if you want to be critical.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, maybe like that. And I swear Sanchez made that in one game against United. He made 4 or 5 howlers. It's just United didn't score all of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know how people come up with these things. But yeah, stats for goalkeepers is for me a bit of a questionable thing, which is why I'm so worried about who we're going to sign. Because like Pi said earlier, they're probably going to go by stats. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on the rules, but I remember last year when we signed Madueke, reading up about this on stream very much in detail about why Noni Madueke does not count as homegrown. But hey, maybe I am wrong.
That's a bit you don't know the rules. That's a bit blunt, isn't it?
Yeah, well, apparently.
Hey, you don't know the rules.
I don't. No, I really don't. To be fair, I'm not that sure on the rules. I'm not going to pretend like I know them for a fact. But yeah, another bit of transfer news. Who would have thought Chelsea are signing another Wonderkid? Chelsea are expected to sign Gabriel Mec. Not sure about the name, but 16-year-old Brazilian attacking midfielder, left winger. Felix Johnson says he sees him more of a left winger. Long legs, a bit like Tyreek George in that sense. And everybody that knows something about him seems to be very hyped. A bit like...
Esteval?
Yeah, I guess a bit like Esteval, I suppose. But I'm not sure if I want to give him quite that yet. If that's too much. But yeah, he's 16. Is it Grimero, however you pronounce that club's name? I do unfortunately forget. It rings a bell, but I can't. Is it? Okay. But yeah, I mean, Pice, do you know anything about him? It's another Wonderkid, I guess.
No, I know diddly squat about him, to be honest with you. Yeah, great. I don't know. Felix says he's very good, but look, he's 16. who gives a shit, in all honesty? We ain't going to see him for like 2 more years, and he's only going to be 18 then. Like, at least with like, he's not on the level of Esteval and Pires. Like, Esteval was, like, looking back on it, for sure, like, he's one of the ones where, all the top clubs wanted him. So, who knows? Who knows? It's just another one to add to the list that we won't see for a long time.
Absolutely, because he's even 16, so he'd be a 2026 player.
Yeah, he's not good. Whenever we sign him, and for whatever crazy fee it ends up being, we're not going to see him for a while anyway. I mean, he sounds great. I think he's the new academy's answer to Rio and Gurmo. With him obviously going to Liverpool.
Well done on that pronunciation, by the way.
Was that right? I have no idea.
Well, it sounded right to me.
Well, I hope it was. I think this is the academy's sort of like official response to that. I think they want to replace a level of his talent like for like, and so they're going to try and do it from Brazil, which is what we're trying to do now.
The only problem is, Rio would have been able to play in the under 18s. Gabriel Mec is not, because he would only be allowed to come here at 18. At least.
No, don't you get it? It's so much better when these players can play for 2 years in Brazil first. That's true. That's what they'll tell you.
Olaniran, sorry for butchering your name. He says, thought we have Slovenia in the MLS. When are we able to bring it back? He's not in the MLS. I think it was in the Belgian league. Ollie said he thinks he got relegated. I'm not sure if that's true.
I can't remember where he played. I remember it being in the Belgian league because I remember it being like a slightly underwhelming loan at the time.
Yeah, it was a slightly underwhelming.
It's like KAS something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eupen.
I know the badge.
Yeah, it's Eupen. Yeah.
And did they get relegated? They finished 16th of 16. Brilliant.
Ball knowledge.
It is, to be fair. As a few people in the chat have already said it, let me bring it up. Fabrizio has tweeted about Chelsea as we are live here. That tweet is about good old Leslie Ugochukwu, who is expected to leave Chelsea this summer as club are now planning for a loan move. Chelsea want Leslie to develop and play on a regular basis. Understand Premier League and Bundesliga clubs are showing concrete interest. Yeah, I don't care. Leslie Ugochukwu will never properly play for Chelsea again. He has done a little bit, but Poch rushed him back, so he got injured again. And then we didn't see him for 3,500 months, and no one knows why. Then we didn't allow Gusto or Badiashile to be in the Olympic squad, but we allowed Ugochukwu to be in the French Olympic squad. But then they didn't call Ugochukwu up, only on reserve, and then we told them, actually, no, he can't be on reserve. What are you doing? Either he's here or he's not. Now that's happening. I mean, it's not quite as drastic, but does anybody else see Ugochukwu nowadays similarly to, like, I don't know, bloody Kellyman, like one of these kind of random signings that?
I mean, I think he's been a solid player whenever he has played. I think he's showcased his quality. I mean, he came through in Ligue 1 very young, and he played a lot of games for them before he came to us. So I think it's just a case of like the squad at the moment is just too big for him. If someone like Lavia stays fit, we won't even notice he's gone.
And now you've got like Renato Veiga as well, who is a centre back, physically from profile wise, not too different from Ugochukwu, better physically, if we're being honest. Who is centre back, but can invert into midfield, so there's even less need for Ugochukwu in the squad. So I don't really see that happening anymore. Will Santos go out on loan? Pies, what would you reckon happens with Santos? Do you expect him to go out on loan?
I reckon he'll stay, to be fair. I reckon he might be one that stays. Especially if Gallagher leaves, I think he'll probably stay.
Yeah,
I think if Gallagher leaves, he'll stay for sure.
Do you see him as playing as one of the 8s or more of a 6?
Probably an 8, I would say. But he can do both. But I'd probably say 8. Yeah, maybe it's like one of the Caicedo's back up, or if Caicedo's playing a bit further forward, then maybe something like that.
Very much possible. I thought let's talk about a few more smaller bits and bobs. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. Check out Ollie's channel, or Ollie's Twitter, and his podcast down in the description below. And of course, check out Pice on Twitter and his playback as well. A couple of things. As much as I criticize Chelsea a lot, right? I think people know that by now, that I have done that a lot over the recent weeks and months. But I also want to give credit where credit is due. Their idea to turn up with Eden Hazard to promote the new home shirt, genius. That they give every member a personalized like video essentially about like you're signing for the club almost with the new home kit. You have like, you know, your name, kit preview, then you have it on like the shoes, like the football boots, your flag and your initials, and then the kit in the dressing room. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I can't even lie. Shout out Chelsea for doing that. Although at the same time, why not just give Hazard a contract? Just give him a contract. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you use him for the Conference League, just for the happiness of the fan base, it would do wonders. Because nothing else is going well. And aren't we supposedly looking for a right-footed winger? Do you know what I mean? Like, just go for Hazard. But yeah, I mean, Ollie, I assume you agree. As much as, especially on that day, obviously there was the whole Enzo drama. I do want to quickly talk about that in a minute as well. That was... And it felt like they almost purposely released it that day, but it probably was always planned. But that was good, wasn't it? That they got
I think it
Hazard
was very lucky timing.
Yeah.
Because as well, like, I'm not sure if how much they wanted to even release this necessarily, because I don't know what kind of reaction it necessarily would have made. Especially because the kit is so horrible. I don't know anyone who genuinely likes it. I don't think I've met.
He does.
I think he's kidding himself, to be honest.
See, I saw this.
I don't know anyone who likes this kit. I mean, to be fair, with the player's name on the back of it, without the stupid zoomed in Photoshop looking fire weird flurry psychedelic drug thing we've got going on, it looks all right from the back. That's all I can say, really. I think it's good to get someone like Eden to come in because he's instantly likable by the Chelsea fan base. I'm sure it'll help sell a lot of shirts, but the shirt itself is absolutely awful.
I do unfortunately agree. It's weird. I saw a TikTok of this German guy that was just like talking about or ranking like new kits of various clubs, and he's like, how is everyone having fire kits this season? I was like, okay, who's he going to turn out with? First, he came up with Basel, who I'm not a biggest fan of their kit either, if I'm honest. But then he was like, and this Chelsea kit, it's amazing. Look how sick it looks. Like, it's with the fancy highlights and it looks so modern. I'm like, sorry, what? So apparently there are some people that genuinely like it, not just Damesh.
It's not hard to do, but it's not hard to do a home shirt that everybody likes. Just make it blue. Don't fuck around with a weird pattern on it. Just make it blue. That's all I care about. Just needs to be plain and blue. That's it.
Pice, tell me, where do you stand on the kit? And where do you stand on Hazard being used to promo it? And did Hazard promo it make the kit look better for you?
I mean, Hazard's my goat, man. Like, honestly, you know, I started my Twitter account with him, you know, as my VO. Like, he's my favorite footballer of all time. So when I saw this, I was like, yes, like, this is brilliant. Like, unbelievable PR, you know, great marketing. Yeah, like, it's great to see he's involved in the club still. You know, I think we should do this a lot more. Yeah, I mean, look, the kit is horrible, but at the same time, someone did say something to me earlier today, and I was like, actually, you know what? I see that. So because of, like, you see the pattern on the kit and it's kind of like the flames or whatever, I think during night games, this could actually kind of slap. Like, I think it actually looked nice during the night games because of the pattern.
You know, with the floodlights.
Yeah, like, it actually might look kind of nice, kind of like reflective, you know, it might look kind of nice, but it doesn't look horrendous in these pictures. I just don't like the patterns all over it. Maybe
the patterns on it, the way it blends into the shorts, it just doesn't look right. Like,
I don't know. Maybe I'll get used to it. I don't know.
It's one of them, isn't it? Because if I remember rightly, nobody really liked. Do you remember that? It was a couple seasons ago. I can't remember which season it was. It's the one where we had like the check pattern kit with the yellow in it.
I still think that's the worst football kit ever made, ever.
That was horrible, but that was genuinely awful kit. But people came round on that as well throughout the season.
Came round on that.
Yeah,
but it's because
people will come round on this as well.
Not because
but people come round on this as well if we win something in it. If we win something in it, people will say it's an amazing shirt. Like,
probably
for me, like,
I mean,
what people think of the shirt is nothing to do with the shirt.
Right?
It's all to do with the team, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this picture that we've got up on screen now, even though it is clearly a little bit edited, even though it's probably mostly just like a perfect thing, like on iPhone photo edit or whatever, it doesn't look that bad here. Like, I will admit, on this one, I don't actually hate it. But again, it's edited, so who knows? I mean, CNF says here, I think because no sponsor is on the shirt, it looks bad. quickly a conversation about that. I'll start with you, Pies. First of all, do you think that it could look better with the sponsor? Because I do, because I think the pattern will stand out less once you have a normally written sponsor on it, if that makes sense, because that will stand out a bit more. So that I think will make the kit look better. But even aside from that, the fact that we are again in this situation of no sponsor, like, how bad do you think that is? Is it just me that thinks this is like almost worse than all of the bad signings we make? Like, this is, how can you not do this? How can you 2.5 years in still not have an actual sponsor? And I get that they don't want to sell themselves short on a long-term contract. If we make it back to the Champions League, then they could have a bigger contract. But surely find a sponsor and just figure out an agreement how much they pay us if we make Champions League football and how much they pay us if we don't. Like, you don't have to have a linear deal no matter what competition we qualify for. Like, you're American businessmen. Surely you can figure something out. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't get it. Like, Pies, where do you stand on that sponsorship situation? Because I just find it terrible.
Yeah, I mean, some other Clear Lake sexuals, Clear Lake soldiers will defend this, and say that, this is, not a bad thing. Like, let the club get the right deal. Let's be patient. Yada, yada, yada. People would like to sponsor the shirts, but it doesn't excuse it. I think it's really poor, especially from, someone who said that we weren't terribly well run, So
it's that like, quote that keeps coming back to bite them, isn't it?
It's just funny, man, isn't it? Like, looking back at it, it's funny, and it's also worrying, the fact that they seem to be so shit at sponsorship and commercial deals, and that's supposed to be their, area of expertise, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. Like, why can't we do a deal with Infinite Athlete? Like, why can't we? Because they're looking for a short-term thing. So why can't we just extend that again for another year? Like,
no,
they might end up doing
that's just our emergency last option, which we haven't taken yet. I think.
I mean, yeah.
But because like, and I'll let Ollie answer on it in a second, because. But even like as sponsors, like these Clear Lake sexuals that defend this, like, oh, they're just looking for the best deal. But how many best deals do you think you'll get from anyone? We've already announced the kit. So the big announcement of the new kit, which is a big deal for every big football club every year, happened without the sponsor. And we've also announced multiple signings with either the training shirt, who has a big ass Bing X on it, which is still a crypto company, which dodgy anyway. Like with the training shirt, or the earlier signings we did with the old shirt, with Infinite Athlete and not a potential new sponsor on it. So like even the potential new sponsor, they're gonna pay us less because, well, you've announced it without us, you've announced signings without us, you're gonna play preseason games without us on it. Why should we pay you the full 1 season fee? You like, even if they said, okay, for a normal year, we'd probably buy you like pay you like 40 million, but now it's probably down to 35. 30, and that's probably why they're not agreeing to any of it, but it's your own fault, Chelsea, man. Does Pies actually think Infinite Athlete is a legitimate business? It's a legitimate business, but it's just a legitimate business that people
that we own,
somewhat indirectly to do with Chelsea, own and control and whatever else.
I mean, they did spawn as a company like very quickly.
Yeah,
that's all
I do still think it's a business, but yeah, it's just a business we own. It's a bit like, I don't know, if we had Chelsea Women's on the shirt of the Chelsea Men's as a sponsor. It's kind of like that. Or one of the hotels. I guess it's a bit one of those. But yeah, I mean, Ollie, where do you stand on the whole sponsorship situation? Do you think this is as bad as me and Pies do?
I mean, it doesn't reflect well. I mean, like, it feels to me like you've got someone like Badada Bali trying to make all the decisions, and because he literally can't be in everywhere at once, like, stuff's getting, like, people are dropping the ball, things are getting left behind without his ultimate decision making. And so for that, it feels, like we last season and this season, we've just missed the boat on it. Maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they're doing something that, like, we can't see, that's somehow, like, in the long term really going to help pay off for us. But it doesn't look that way when you wait so long and, like, you're trying to work deals out, and the deals that fell through last season and all that stuff. It just doesn't scream that we're doing a really competent job with this. And I appreciate them doing their due diligence. I do. I think because, like, when they tried to rush through the stake deal, everyone, like, threw their arm, was up in arms about it, and rightly so, I guess. But you can't let that paralysis stop you from just making the damn decision and getting the damn money in, because that's more important for the club. Ultimately, I'm not really about the kit specifically with the sponsor, I don't know. I think we're a little bit conditioned to think we always need a sponsor on a shirt, and so when you don't see one, it's a bit odd. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're not doing as good a job as people within the club would like to think we're doing on the commercial end of things.
Has anyone in the Premier League ever started a season without a shirt sponsor like we did?
I don't know. It may be back in the 90s.
Is that sort of some record we've broken? Like, if we're going to do it again, like.
I mean, it probably already was a record last year, and now we're improving our own record.
Exactly. Like what the like.
I mean, I like the opportunity of buying the sponsorless kits. I do like the opportunity to buy the sponsorless kits because, like, I don't know, not everyone wants to be a walking advertisement all the time, do they? I mean, having said that, you are wearing a global football club's, like, branding on you, so it's only so much. But, yeah, so it's I get that, but I don't know. It's nice to not have like a great big one like all across.
Yeah. I think Forest actually went into last season without a sponsor initially. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, they ended up with Stake, didn't they?
Yeah, that's Stake. I think pretty sure.
Forest. I thought they had something else. But
I could have sworn they had Stake.
But yeah, you can see it on screen by Lou Class, who seems to be the guy. Oh, it was in a 22-23 season that it didn't have a sponsor. Fair enough. Yeah. Or at the beginning of it, at least. But yeah, this Lou Class guy seems to be the kind of guy that talks about sponsorship stuff. Pies, you will know this better. He was also the guy talking about how Jordan are potentially looking at getting a London club. I saw Spurs. But neither of us play Champions League now, so maybe neither of it happened, I guess.
Please let it be us, man. Please. I would love for Jordan to make our kids.
Imagine if we got Jordan, man. It would be so sick. I don't think PSG, since collabing with Jordan, have had a bad-looking kit. All three of their kits every year are bangers. Like, I don't know how you even do that because like people have obviously the nostalgic feelings towards Adidas, but Adidas also have howlers regularly these days. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe less than Nike, but still, not every Adidas kit is a banger. Not for me anyway. But
New Balance, they do some nice kits, don't they? They make Liverpool's kits.
Who's that? New Balance, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't they still do that? Do they do it anymore?
But do they sponsor anybody other than Liverpool?
I don't think so. I think there might. Well, there may be in other countries.
Like their shoes. I think their shoes look a bit silly, but I know a lot of people like them. So there you go. But yeah, obviously, supposedly, Benadik Bali is trying to get a front of shirt sponsor from Saudi Arabia, but is afraid of fan backlash. Well, what I'll say to her before I ask Ollie and Pice about it is, Liverpool have Nike as well now, do they? Fair enough. I'm not sure if went past me, but yeah, either Bedad. Make a decision. Either be scared of the backlash and then leave the Saudis, or don't care about the backlash and go for the Saudis. But don't wait until August to figure something out. Do you know what I mean? That's the part that annoys me. Like it's like I understand why there's maybe that concern a bit like with Stake. It's a tricky one with the whole Saudi stuff because obviously the Saudis there's a lot of questionable stuff going on. But then Newcastle still in the Premier doing everything and no one gives a shit. They're still the front of shirt sponsor of Atletico Madrid's shirt and no one gives a shit. So it's like
they're going to host the World Cup in 2032.
Sorry?
They're going to host the World Cup in 2032.
Exactly. 2030, I think, or 2034.
Oh, 2030. It's in the 2030s.
One of the two, yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was already talk about this RIA there like months ago that we'd already have this. That we already had this agreed for the coming season. That's what they said, and God knows how many, like I say, months ago. But yeah, I mean, Pice, where do you stand on this? Like, if he's scared of the fan backlash, do you think a Saudi sponsor could have the same kind of reaction as we did with Stake in that sense?
I thought he was.
I think if Stake wasn't such a ridiculous logo and sign, I don't think the backlash would have been anywhere near as harsh purely for being a.
Yeah, it just looked shit, didn't it?
Yeah, just looked cheap and shit and embarrassing. We looked like fucking Watford. Do you know what I mean? Watford and Everton. But yeah, Pice, where do you stand on the potential Saudi sponsorship? Like, would you have an issue with it? Would you not? I know it's a difficult topic to talk about. I get it, but yeah.
To be honest, I don't really know. Like, not really. Like, I don't know. I think Benadik Bali, I thought he was like, Mr. Aura, doesn't care, does his own thing. So I found this report quite funny, to be honest.
Yeah. We also supposedly didn't we hire? I forgot his name, but didn't we hire a person who was supposed
to? Yeah, absolutely, clearly absolutely useless if Benadik Bali's taken over and doing it, or maybe Benadik Bali's just doing what he does anyway and wants to control literally the whole football club.
Yeah, but then why unnecessarily pay all these people? Like, if you're going to do it all yourself, save that money and pay bigger wages to the players so we could have signed fucking Olise. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Is illusion of confidence? Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe it is. Oli, where do you stand on it? Like, do you understand that perspective from Iqbal? Like, with what happened with Stake, that he's a bit like hesitant with Saudi sponsors, but
no, I think he's a pussy, and this is why. Don't blame the fans for you not being able to do your job properly.
Exactly.
That's what this is. Like, I'm worried about the fan backlash. Just fucking get on with it and do it.
Yep.
That's it. Like, you know, like that. There is no pass go here. Like, for me, like you can't be blaming the fans for something that they have absolutely nothing to do with, in terms of like the sponsorship. Yeah, I get it with Stake last season, but they shouldn't have even entertained a sponsorship so stupid. If they do another one with someone from Saudi this season, I can't imagine there being all that much backlash from it. Depending on how much it is, it will be all about the money.
Yes, no, I agree. One last thing about kits and sponsorships. I guess not sponsorships as much, but about kits. I was sent this today. I saw it as well and posted it then, which is fantastic. Supposedly, this is the new goalkeeper shirt. I mean, it looks like real, and it was sent to me by an Austrian mate of mine, an Austrian Chelsea sports chat. Yeah. Obviously, there's always different goalkeeper kits. You don't only have one every year.
Really leaning into the orange this season, aren't we?
Yeah, but I think having an orange goalkeeper shirt makes the orange on the home shirt less shit, because it kind of like, you know, it's like when you have an outfit,
it's still
and
shit.
like, you have like, I don't know, say red highlights on a jacket, but then and it kind of looks a bit off. But then once you put red shoes on, it works. It's kind of like I think it helps a little bit, but at the end of the day, the only thing I say is I think bright goalkeeper kits are better than not bright goalkeeper kits. I think goalie kits should be bright and not like black or grey. I find that.
I think if they're trying to coordinate our kits to go together, I think they've got the wrong priorities.
Well, yeah, but they have the wrong priorities on pretty much everything, so that's not news, is it?
No,
but,
which is probably why this has happened then.
What do you mean Lukaku gone? What's happened?
Maybe what to Napoli?
Pice, have you missed something?
No, there's nothing breaking on that.
No, I don't think so either. But Pice, thoughts on a goalie shirt?
Yeah, I like it. I like goalkeeper kits that are bright. I really like bright colours. So I really like this one. I'd love this to be like
goalie kits should always have long sleeve, in my opinion.
Yeah, the short sleeve is jarring. I can't lie.
Yeah, if they wear an undershirt that is the same color, it's okay. But just have a long sleeve shirt. That was so sick. The Spain kid this year, Ferran Torres seems to be the guy that always wears long sleeve no matter what. And Spain obviously having Adidas. Adidas still does long sleeve because Nike doesn't do long sleeve shirts. Adidas does. Like I have the 2012 Champions League winning kit. I have that as long sleeve. And I don't know, I just love a long sleeve football kit. Now I know when you wear it for like, I don't know, sports and whatever, or if you want to hang it up on the wall, the long sleeve just goes in a way. But if for actually like wearing it, if it's not like way too hot, I love a long sleeve shirt. And goalie kits just need to be a long sleeve in my opinion. We have one more big topic, boys, that we haven't discussed yet, and we do need to touch on now. And it's a bit of a tricky subject. Now the Premier League has released this in terms of kind of attached to Chelsea's statement. So I'm sure all of you know what happened. Enzo Fernandez's Instagram live stream on the Argentina team bus after winning the Copa America against Colombia and singing a song that supposedly was started by Argentina fans after the 2022 World Cup final or around the 2022 World Cup final. Talking about essentially the origins of French players and how their mothers are Nigerian, fathers are Cameroonian, but the passport says French, something along those lines. Yeah, obviously an unacceptable song, an unacceptable sentiment of a song in terms of like, it's not about like your nationality is where you're from. If people feel French, they are French. And you can also be French and your parents be Nigerian and you feel as both. That is possible. And we shouldn't discriminate on the basis of that. The difficult part of it are various things. First of all, it's so difficult to talk about, me sitting here as a white person. So difficult to not say the wrong thing for these kind of situations. But it's difficult for me as a Chelsea fan that I'm like, it feels like a witch hunt for Enzo Fernandez rather than anybody caring about the racism. Because if people cared about the racism, it wouldn't just be Enzo Fernandez in the crossfire. And it just seems like, okay, someone did something wrong. We need to punish someone. So therefore, we now have to do something. And the Premier League think that, FIFA think that, FA think that. So Enzo Fernandez is probably going to get an slightly over the top punishment. I wouldn't be surprised, and no one else gets anything. Even the Argentina players that have been asked about this since, none of them have even said. I mean, obviously they'd be stupid to in their positions if they don't want to get banned as well, I guess. But still, none of them have said like what the whole bus was singing it or whatever else. Also, like supposedly Lionel Messi wasn't on this bus because he was in hospital because he got injured in the game. So lucky boy is all I'll say. But where on earth is the fucking manager? Like the manager was on the bus. Fucking say something. The Argentinian FA, the whole bunch of them in Argentina are a disgrace, if I'm being honest. Like what the vice president said there is a joke. And then they sacked the undersecretary of sports or whatever because he said Messi should come out and apologize in representation of the team. And the actual president was like, no, you can't tell Messi what to do. So you're sacked. It's mental. It's utterly mental. But yeah, that's the situation. Let's see what happens in terms of a ban. Obviously, Chelsea have said they are looking into it. He will likely get fined. Enzo has supposedly. Enzo has supposedly apologized to his teammates. He has obviously done that public apology that I'm sure all of you have seen. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you your opinion on it, Ollie and Pies, obviously, because again, it's just dodgy waters. But yeah, I hope we get a solution. What I really hope is that everyone that was on this bus gets some sort of punishment. But then I also understand that if they weren't filmed, there's no real evidence, and we all know how law works. You can't get punished for something that there's no evidence for. So that's why it's just Enzo. And I don't speak Spanish, but from what I saw from that clip, apparently the song starts in the last 10 seconds and then it ends.
Yeah, there's them saying they're saying cut the live in Spanish, end the live.
Sorry, did they? Did they? Okay.
Someone on the bus told Enzo to stop recording, obviously, because they knew it was dodgy. So
yeah, but is it true? Because I read that initially that like the video stopped before they kind of got to the racist part of the song. Is that even true? Like I listened to it, because we all saw the lyrics, what they supposedly say, and I'm like, okay, I didn't hear Nigeria, I didn't hear Cameroon, I didn't hear Angola, I didn't hear any of those country names in this song. I'm not trying to say it didn't happen. He's apologized, so I'm sure.
I guess, but the thing is with that is that I think some people are getting frustrated about this for the wrong reasons. I think some people are frustrated that the whole thing's gone publicly, and the thing is the whole thing was made public in the first place by Enzo anyway. Obviously, yeah, it's not a good situation. I'm not gonna, as a white person, tell anyone how to feel about racism. That seems hypocritical. But, to me, it seems that there'll be some education, a punishment, and then hopefully everyone can just move on and properly forgive and fix those relationships, and then hopefully focus on the season at hand, because it's at the moment it's not a great thing.
No, it really isn't. And I'm also not going to comment on the whole Wesley Fofana thing. Like Ollie just said, it's not for us to judge how someone that could or will have felt affected by that kind of song or whatever. It's not for us to judge how they should or should not react. But obviously,
we don't have a unique perspective, is what we're saying. We're not Argentinian and we're not French.
Exactly. And we're white as well on top of that. So yeah. But yeah, obviously Wesley Fofana quote tweeted it talking about racism in 2024. Yeah. The Argentinian player spoke about that. They then criticized Wesley Fofana. I'm like, you're not helping yourselves. Don't criticize.
No, and some people seem to be, and what I was getting at, some people seem to be frustrated that the whole thing happened in public. But the problem with that is that, like I said, it's kind of already out in the public anyway. And when you are saying like it's a bad thing that it happened in public and all on social media, like, I don't know. It feels like for me that then you're not really worried about the problem. You're kind of more worried about the fact that it happened openly in public rather than behind closed doors, which then makes that seem okay, which it can't be. So
no, and that's the tricky part, because I understand why people will have part of them will maybe have an instinct like, they don't want it to affect Chelsea or their own clubs. but that's not the relevant part here. Like the relevant part here is that we try to help racism, like help get rid of racism. Obviously, I'm trying to say.
Don't clip that.
No, don't get that, please, for the love of God. Yeah, but yeah, it's all about education. I don't think this is a situation where it's like, okay, you would punish them and now they will stop being racist. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, if that's how it would work, we probably would have been able to get rid of racism already if all you needed to do was punish people that do it. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Sammy says here, apparently Enzo was guilty for some driving offense. Yes, he was last year in
November 2023.
Yeah, he was caught crossing a red light. It happened. Yeah. I wonder if without all of this other...
Well, actually, I think actually what happened was, to go into a bit more detail with that, it seemed that the charge specifically is that he failed to identify himself as the driver of the car that did that. So I think actually he may not have even been driving. I think maybe it was his car and someone else was driving it, ran a red light, and he didn't want to give him up, and so he's been charged for that.
Interesting.
Or of course,
he's a rich footballer that doesn't look at his mail and didn't realize he was supposed to present himself.
Yeah, that could happen too.
But yeah, obviously, I don't know. Maybe it's like, I don't know. His missus might not speak great English, opened the letter, didn't realize what's happening. It could be anything.
He's dating Pochettino.
If the drama is crossing a red light, I don't think it's worth mentioning, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, one last little topic that I want to talk about so we don't end quite on such a, serious and dramatic situation. Well, two, I guess. This is also sad, but on a different scale. Supposedly, West Ham are in talks to sign N'Golo Kante. Sorry, what?
It'll never happen. It'll never happen.
I'm
guaranteeing
might just
it.
want to go back to London.
I guarantee it. It's not going to happen. Because wasn't the whole point of Kante going out there to Saudi and everything? Wasn't the whole point like they were going to give him his whole business and sport portfolio type thing as well? Like, and he's not just going to leave all that kind of stuff behind. Like, he might want to come back to London, but I think he's probably got enough wherewithal to know that probably not to a London club, and certainly not to a Premier League London club. Just out of respect for Chelsea, which we all know he has. So I don't know. For me, I just can't see a world in which this happens, especially because like the wages would have to be astronomical as well.
Yeah, unless he just wants to come back to London. If that's all it is, Petr Cech went to Arsenal. I don't think there's like, Jose went to Spurs.
I get it. Like, look, in football doesn't football and rivalry and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter to players anymore. But I don't know. I think some players do act with that kind of modicum of respect. Yeah. I think some players wouldn't go to some places on purpose for that reason. For playing for other clubs, it seems disrespectful.
It does. I do agree. But
it's why I don't think it will happen, because I don't think that's in Kante's character, and I don't think, to be honest, West Ham can pay him enough either. So
I do agree with that last part, the character thing. I think Kante is very much a family man, very much a quiet guy that likes his comforts. If he just liked and preferred London to being in Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't be totally shocked if it happened. But I do think the wages are a valid point. But then again, it depends on how badly does he want to go back to London. I'm sure, Kante has never been the big guy for money. Like, he's driving around in a Mini still, as far as I know. Well, maybe not in Saudi Arabia, but at least while he was still at Chelsea. So clearly money isn't the big decisive factor for N'Golo Kante. Before I ask Pice on the Kante to West Ham rumours, Kusha says, Laurenz, are you going to do a keep, sell, loan video? I don't know yet. Usually I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it because Chelsea is so unpredictable that it will just annoy me. But also,
as in like the squad will change like 4 or 5 times before.
Yeah, exactly, because we're going to sign a player like Dewsbury Hall.
Players will go out on loan. Players are going to come in. Players are going to get sold. Players will be frozen out.
It's more about who are we going to sign, which positions, because that influences who I think needs to be sold or loaned. Like, for example, without signing Dewsbury Hall, I would still be very adamant that Gallagher should not and cannot be going anywhere. Now that we have signed Dewsbury Hall, from a purely a squad perspective, we could very much sell Gallagher now. Before, I think from a squad perspective, it would have been stupid. Now, that's less the case. So, things change. But yeah, that is that. Paisto, Kante to West Ham, do you see that happening at all?
Fabrizio confirmed the interest, but he did say the wages were very high, and also that Ality had no plans to sell him at all. So I don't think this will happen, but this was definitely, maybe there's some sort of it was definitely confirmed by a lot of other big reporters. So there was definitely some level of interest there. And I just hope he doesn't go anywhere, man, because he did have a really good Euros, and clubs would have watched that and thought,
West Ham couldn't pay for Ruben Amorim to go there. So what hope are they going to have with
I think they
Kante?
can. I think they can. It's just they don't want to a lot of the time. You know, like David Sullivan is very sort of like tight with his money, sort of thing. So yeah, but look, he's a massive global star. So yeah, maybe they'd make an exception. But look, I just hope he stays where he is, because I don't want to see this guy in the Premier League again. At least, you know, can't see him
Unless he
play
comes
for
back.
another club, man.
So if you want to do that, if you want to buy himself out of his own Saudi contract and come back, I'm down. But that will happen.
Do you know what I would love more than anything? I would love to see him go back to Leicester, just tear up the Championship. Oh, don't tear up the Premier League, but for Leicester again.
Yeah, I would enjoy
I
that.
don't know if I want to see him get relegated, though, Ollie, to be honest.
I know, but if anyone could save him,
Relegated from the Championship.
No, they're in the Prem, aren't they? Of course.
Yeah, they got promoted again. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, if anyone can save him, Pice, it's Kante, I think.
If he stays fit, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, but it's annoying. Obviously, it's difficult to judge the whole Saudi league situation. Like, is the lack or the lesser intensity why he's now not injured permanently anymore? But
I don't know if it's like the physicality of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Over there,
Like,
the hot climate,
training, less intense games. Yeah,
maybe they just have like the best sports medicine facilities out in Saudi. I mean, with the amount of money they spent on players and stuff.
In fucking London, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You get it though. Like, I get it's like it's a multitude of factors. I would have thought that make it so he's not been injured as much. I think as well, like he's just been playing less like difficult football on his body.
They still got the Asian Champions League and stuff. So like, I don't know. I heard they still play mostly every 3 days as well when it's their season. But I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, but even so, like the intensity of the league is just nowhere near the Premier League, is it?
It's the only thing I'd say is isn't
the
it
amount of
much
sprints and stuff that you have to do
more strenuous in playing in crazy heat?
I think the hot climate would actually help his joints and stuff. I think there's a scientific consensus on that, but
for the muscles, I mean, they don't chuck you in ice baths after the game for no reason. So
no, of course,
the cold weather should also have its effect. But hey, I want to finish it on a topic that's not fully Chelsea, but still kind of Chelsea, because Blue co-owned football club Strasburg have parted ways with their manager Patrick Vieira 3 weeks after their pre-season started, or 2, and 3 weeks before the Ligue 1 season starts. I don't know. Now, again, got absolutely rinsed on Twitter by not Cobham sexuals, Clear Lake sexuals. By, first of all, why do you care? Second of all, he's shit, so it's a good thing. People just don't get the point. Every club that sacks the manager halfway through pre-season is a stupid club. I don't care if the manager is good or bad. You're a stupid club unless you have outside reasons, like the manager did something bad or whatever. Unless there's a valid, real, like immediate reason to sack the manager in pre-season. You should never ever sack a manager in pre-season. If people are like, he's bad, okay, sure. If he's a bad manager, then they should have sacked him after the season, not halfway through pre-season. That's just stupid. And that's a sign for a badly run organization. And whether you like to hear it or not, I do not give two shits. It's a sign for a badly run organization. Chelsea's badly run. Strasbourg is badly run. And I feel for every Strasbourg fan that exists. Like I feel for every Troy's fans, or Troy, I don't know how to pronounce that place, to be honest.
They got relegated, didn't they?
Yeah, they got relegated twice, back to back. I think they're in like the 3rd division now. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what I saw anyway. And like they record signing, then loaned him to Girona, and now Silvinho or whatever his name is, the guy that City just signed for what, 40 million? They signed initially with their own club, loaned to their other own club, and then bought from their own club. How that's allowed, I will never know, because that's the next thing that annoys me about Chelsea. Like at least sign, like Chelsea can't afford anyone because ESR and everything. Sign someone with Strasbourg then and sell him for cheap to us next year. If they can do it, surely we should be able to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not even using the good loopholes. All we're doing is ruining everything. I'll go with you first, Pice. Do you agree with me? Maybe you don't. For me, this is very clear. But do you agree with me that no matter the situation, sacking a manager in pre-season is always a stupid idea? And let's not forget, they've only parted ways with Vieira so far. It's not like they already know who the new manager is going to be and he took over the next day. That's not what happened. They're still looking. So God knows how long that's going to take. Like, Surely everyone can agree that sacking a manager in the middle of preseason is a stupid idea, no?
It's very stupid. Obviously, like, it doesn't even need to be explained. It's just stupid. Like, preseason is like the most important time of the year. You're going into a new season. You need as much preparation as possible. Like, it doesn't need to be explained. It's stupid. I think as
You've just
well,
wasted time. Like,
yeah,
that's...
like I read that basically. I think Strasbourg employed some like guy who conducted like a review, and basically decided that actually Vieira needed to go, and it's like what the hell? Like, the timing is just dreadful.
And like, and for Blueco
before.
as an organization, like, do you have consensus over this stuff or not? Like, this happens after a year after you've brought him in.
Yeah.
Like,
there's also so many people that told me it's Strasbourg that hired Vieira and not Blueco, even though Blueco bought Strasbourg before Vieira was hired. So I'm like, okay, so they bought the club but didn't have any decision making in the manager, but we do make the decisions in their transfers. But that makes no sense.
but then now seemingly we do make the decisions around the manager. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I get it. Strasbourg are their own entity. They're their own club, and we should respect them as that. They shouldn't just be looked at as like our like dumping ground or our little brother or anything like that. They're a historic club. They deserve to be treated with respect. But at the moment, that's not what we're doing. Like, if you, like, eventually deciding to sack a manager 3 weeks before preseason starts for any team, like you say, it just seems like a silly idea. You've just wasted 3 weeks of your preseason. Now you have a lesser preseason for the next guy to come in and actually kind of try and do something before the season even begins. It just sets the whole season off on a bad foot. It's
exactly.
like, from like a sporting perspective, it just doesn't make sense,
Yeah, exactly. And Strasbourg didn't finish that far ahead of relegation last season either. Now, there are a few clubs that are struggling for like even existing, like financially. So like, God knows what the relegation situation in Ligue 1 is going to be next year. But still, they're not like, it's not like they're perfectly always safe from relegation. And I know Troy's Man City own are already in lower leagues in France as well. But still, it will have a big impact on Chelsea as well if Strasbourg do get relegated. Like, where do you think André Santos would have gone after his bad Forest loan if Strasbourg were in Ligue 2 instead of Ligue 1? Well, certainly not to Strasbourg. So, like, this changes a lot. And to be fair, Pies, how we earlier spoke about like the right wing situation, that we don't really see Palmer as a touchline winger and everything. We kind of both forgot about Angelo. Now, Ibrahim says he's much better than Noni. I'm not sure if I quite agree with that, even if he looked obviously very good in pre-season last year. I mean, have we heard anything of and about Angelo? Like, is there a small chance he ends up being around the squad for the year? Pies, this was for you, sorry.
Wait, what? Oh,
just
sorry,
on Angelo.
I thought he was asking Ollie.
No, if you think Angelo, is there any chance he could be around? Like with our right wing talk that we had earlier?
I highly doubt it. Like, I think there's like a 5% chance, maybe even less. Like, yeah, no, I don't think Angelo will make it here, personally.
He has he's a really weird enigma for me, Angelo, because like he's a player who has like almost no hype whatsoever, but his stats reflect like that he's like one of the best dribblers in Europe.
Yeah, and he was amazing in pre-season. I remember. Like he was,
like so.
It's product though. Like,
that's the thing. I guess maybe it's just he's a bit more like in terms of like a output wise, he's more of an Adama Traore. Lots of dribbles, but no goals.
Could be. Could be. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Ollie, anything else you want to add on the Vieira Strasbourg situation?
Just seems daft, doesn't it? Like, it's hard to claim that things are like running smoothly. I mean, I guess to give them the benefit of the doubt, I would rather they sack him, rather they're going to sack him in preseason than mid-season. Because like at the very least, then like you get a whole season with whoever you think is going to be the guy next. So I don't know. I wonder if they're sort of they're trying to make a pathway of managers for us. As well, so they want to like line up however all the managers play, and if they're playing the same systems, then like they'll be able to, like move over between teams easier and things like that. A bit like what City do, I think. You got Michel and you got Pep and that ilk, but then it can also go the way of like Troy, for example, as well. So I don't know. Everything we do is a risk these days. I just hope it works out for Strasbourg. Yeah,
that's what I hope as well. Absolutely. Obviously, there was a rumor for a little bit that Joe Edwards, obviously formerly Chelsea assistant under Frank Lampard, and youth team manager as well, I think, for a certain time, could take over there. I think he has recently been working as a head coach in Turkey, but that rumor was then quickly killed off again. So yeah. But I would have been surprised by that because, the only thing that I think people are not considering enough is parted ways, mutual consent, blah, blah, blah. Like we just touched on, it's very stupid to part ways with the manager throughout preseason. Maybe it was actually Vieira saying, actually, what you lot are doing to this poor football club here with selling all the experienced players, signing only 12-year-olds that you're planning to send to Chelsea next, I'm not down. Maybe he just wasn't happy, and that's why he's left. Maybe it wasn't, to be fair, from that perspective, then it wasn't Blueco doing something stupid and getting rid of a manager in pre-season, but it would still be Blueco having a manager leave on them because they do stupid things. So both not exactly a good look, but I certainly think that that's something that should be considered as a possibility as well. There was another story that Cole Palmer is getting incremental wage rises, but I think we've streamed for long enough that we don't need to talk about that in detail as well. So on that note, first of all, very much and a big thank you to Pais, a big thank you to Ollie for coming on, joining me. I will try to be back on maybe Sunday, probably Monday, so we will see you then. If you haven't done that yet, please be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, check out Ollie. Links are down in the description to his Twitter and his podcast. You can also see them on screen, and of course Pais, CFCPys on Twitter. Check out everything to do with that, londonsfirst.com of course, and obviously check out Pais on Playback as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done so, subscribe. I ruined my own outro, so I must start again. Thank you guys for watching. Up the gels, upwards and onwards, downwards and backwards, and we will see you next time.